NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
As an adult, don't we all miss spring break? Nothing like taking a week off from all your responsibilities. Well, here's the next best thing for adults, a spring break from house payments. SaveWithConrad.com can help you get rid of all your credit card debt, just like that. We're routinely helping our listeners save $5, $6, $7, even $800 a month. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this, but check this out, no house payments for 2 months at SaveWithConrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Grilling JR. And boy, do we have something special for you guys today. It's a very special edition and some content you've probably never heard before. It's coming to you exclusively from adfreeshows.com. And boy, we're getting in our Wayback Machine like, what, over 30 years? That can't be right. God, I'm getting old. Studio sessions is what we call it. I think everyone listening to this remembers that JR used to have quite the radio show. And it wasn't just Jim Ross. He had special guests. And you're going to hear from 3 of those special guests today. Man, it's almost like a time capsule. You're going to hear from Jim Ross and Mick Foley. You're going to hear from Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. Then you're going to hear from Jim Ross and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. I'm so excited about this because most of you have never heard this before, but we've got a ton of this stuff over at adfreeshows.com ready for your enjoyment. So if you like what you hear, by all means, go check out adfreeshows.com and enjoy the first week on us. We're all about nostalgia over there. And I can tell you, as I'm recording this, I just finished recording another episode of Insiders, where we're talking to the people behind the scenes of professional wrestling. And it's an absolute legend that I just interviewed. And speaking of legends, we just posted my conversation with Jim Johnston, the man behind most of your favorite wrestling themes from the Attitude Era and even the glory days, the 1980s. I guess it was the golden era, whatever. We've got a rare sit down on camera interview with the one and only Jim Johnston over at adfreeshows.com. And seriously, more JR radio than you can shake a stick at. So check it out right now. Coming up again, we got Jim talking to Mick Foley way back when. And then we've got Jim talking with Tony Schiavone. And who could forget Jim and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Jim Ross and I will be back next week. Of course, I hope everyone enjoyed MJF Day and WrestleMania this past weekend. But next week, man, we'll be back at it with brand new content you don't want to miss. We're going to be talking about the evolution of The Undertaker. We're not going to be able to cut that one short. We're not going to shave any time off of these interviews either. All right, listen, I'm just shameless with it. I'm excited about Henson Shaving. Henson Shaving is a family-owned aerospace parts manufacturer that's made parts for the International Space Station and the Mars rover, and now they're bringing precision engineering to your shaving experience. Check this out, y'all. By using aerospace-grade CNC machines, Henson makes metal razors that extend just 0.0013 inches, which is less than the thickness of a human hair, and that means a secure and stable blade with a vibration-free shave. And it gets better. The razor has built-in channels to evacuate hair and cream, which make clogging virtually impossible. This is my favorite razor I've ever had. It's seriously the best shave of my life. I like it so much, I bought a separate one for my travel bag. That's right, one in my travel bag, one by my sink, one at the office. I've even got my barber using it. My dad loves it. Everybody I've introduced Henson to absolutely loves it. And here's the thing, man, there's something about it. You just hold it in your hand and you know, this is the last razor I'll ever need. And what I like best about these guys is they've thought of everything, right? Not only do you get this super thin razor, but it's also got built-in channels to evacuate hair and cream. But the cool thing is there's no plastic. There's no planned obsolescence. There's nothing proprietary about it. There's no subscriptions. There's no gimmicks needed at Henson Shaving. They're using a standard dual-edged blade. It gives you that old school feel, but the benefits of the new school tech because it's so doggone thin. Now here's my favorite part. Not only is Henson better than what you've been doing, it's also cheaper. Check this out. Once you own a Henson razor, you're going to spend just $3 to $5 to replace those blades. Not $3 to $5 a month, Not $3 to $5 a quarter, $3 to $5 a year. That's right, $3 to $5 a year, y'all. It's time to say no to subscriptions and say yes to a razor that will last you a lifetime. Visit hensonshaving.com/JR to pick the razor for you and use the code JR and you'll get 2 years worth of blades free with your razor. Just be sure to add them to your cart. That's 100 free blades at hensonshaving.com/JR and use the promo code JR. hensonshaving.com/JR, promo code JR. And now let's kick it old school with Jim Ross and Mick Foley from the studio sessions at adfreeshows.com.
Now it's Wrestling with Jim Ross on News Talk Radio AM 750 WSB. You can talk with America's leading wrestling broadcaster and his guests. Call 872-0750. Now here's Jim Ross.
Thank you very much, and hello again, everyone. Happy New Year to each and every one of you, and thanks for being with us here on our first broadcast of 1993. We'd like for you to be a part of our program. We're going to be talking about some of the big things that are going on right now in World Championship Wrestling. Our numbers here are 872-0750 locally. Our national toll-free number, 1-800-WSB-TALK. All 9 lines are blinking, so we've got a lot of folks trying to get in. So we encourage you to keep calling. We're going to be taking as many of your phone calls as we possibly can, and we'll be getting to the telephones in just a few moments. Of course, the big news in WCW right now is that this past Wednesday, on December the 30th in Baltimore, Maryland, in the Baltimore Arena, Big Van Vader, the 450-pounder, former Colorado Buffalo, defeated Ron Simmons to win the WCW World's Heavyweight Championship. I have not seen the footage of the contest yet, so I really can't give you any details on how it occurred, but I do know that this weekend on television on TBS, we're going to have a full report from Baltimore on that event. So Big Van Vader is the new World's Heavyweight Champion as of Wednesday night, December the 30th, from the Baltimore Arena over Ron Simmons in that championship event. We're also going to be talking about the WCW calendar of events. A lot of big live cards coming up in the next few weeks, including the big one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on Wednesday, January 13th. That will not only be a tremendous card at Mecca in Milwaukee, but it will also be broadcast live on TBS. That'll be Wednesday, January 13th, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central Time on TV. Super Brawl 3, the next pay-per-view for WCW is Sunday, February 21st, and that will be from Asheville, North Carolina. And, of course, it seems like we just finished a pay-per-view. As a matter of fact, we did on Monday night, December the 28th, here in the Omni in Atlanta, Starrcade 92. And we'll also update you on what we're going to be seeing this weekend on television. Coming up this weekend, some exciting things, as we prepare for some of the major events here in the early part of 1993. Some interesting things are coming about, it would seem, I think, regarding some of the rivalries involving, say, Dusty Rhodes and Barry Windham. There's a lot of news to talk about as far as the United States title is concerned. Of course, you saw that the tournament did start yesterday on WCW Saturday night to determine the number one contender for Ravishing Rick Rude's United States Heavyweight Championship, and that championship could be in jeopardy because Rude has not defended it in over 30 days now. He's basically going on borrowed time, I guess we could say, and due to his injury, he may be stripped of the championship if he's unable to defend it on January 23rd on television. Ricky Steamboat and Shane Douglas have signed a contract to defend their Unified World Tag Team Championship. That feature event will be on as a part of the Clash of the Champions, as they'll take on the new combination of Flying Brian Pillman and Steve Austin. So a lot of things to talk about regarding the next several weeks in television, the big events. I'd like to know your thoughts on what you think's going on, what you think about this situation with Big Van Vader as the world's heavyweight champion. Any comments you may have to make on the world of wrestling. And again, we'll be getting your telephone calls in just a few moments. But in the studio tonight, we have one of the most dangerous competitors in WCW, a man that has been perennially ranked in the WCW top 10 for quite some time, as a matter of fact, and whose unorthodox wrestling style certainly knows no equals. I can say that. He takes more chances perhaps on his own torso than anyone I've ever been around, and it's all the way from Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, here live in WSB Studios. We welcome Cactus Jack.
Well, that's right, Jim. Maybe perennially in the top 10 of WCW, but always number one in the hearts of the fans. You see, it's going to be a big WCW week coming up for me. We've got Tony Atlas in the U.S. tournament. Tony Atlas also putting his guns on the line against Van Hammer in that arm wrestling tournament. And also, Cactus Jack's going to become an even richer man at the Clash of the Champions.
I want to talk more about the Clash of the Champions, Cactus, in a few moments, but what are your comments on Ron Simmons losing the World's Heavyweight Championship to Big Van Vader? Obviously, anytime you get into a one-on-one power match situation with Vader, I don't care. I haven't seen the athlete yet that can match him power for power. He's a huge monster of an individual, great agility for a man his size. What's your reaction when you heard that Simmons lost the title to Vader?
My reaction, that it was only a matter of time, and I was surprised it didn't happen earlier. And I'll tell you this, I'm not taking anything away from Ron Simmons, but what I am questioning is his head. You see, for a long time, I was on TV practically begging Ron for his own good to keep the World Heavyweight Championship on his mind and feuds off of it. You see, it takes too much energy, too much strength, all of your intelligence to hold on to a world title. Ron Simmons doesn't have that much intelligence to begin with. So what is he doing embroiled in feuds? What's he doing signing matches for the Clash of the Champions in a Thunder Cage? What's he doing signing for Falls Count Anywhere contests against myself and different partners? I've always maintained that the World Heavyweight Championship should be number one. Ron Simmons made his ego number one, and he paid the price. It could have been Van Vader. It could have been Rick Rude, for that matter. It could have been Cactus Jack. But somewhere along the line, Simmons' concentration was going to lapse, and it did, and he paid the price.
How do you evaluate Big Van Vader as the world's champion? How do you evaluate him as a competitor?
I think he's unstoppable. But is he unbeatable? I don't know. People are going out there, and this is another problem. I wish that some competitors like Sting, like Simmons, would realize that winning the heavyweight belt is first and not their ego. Sting's out there trying to prove to the people that he's the people's champion, and that's fine because he's earned that title. But he's not the world champion, because until he realizes that the idea is to put Van Vader down 1, 2, 3, and not to show everybody that he can stand toe-to-toe and trade punches and take all the blows in the world, it's going to be a long time before Sting regains that championship. I think as long as Vader keeps his edge, keeps that psychological intimidation factor, that belt's going to be around his waist or over his shoulder for as long as he wants to keep it there.
In Milwaukee on Wednesday, January 13th, you'll be wrestling Eric Watts, the young rookie, the son of WCW Vice President Cowboy Bill Watts, in a bounty match. What is obviously the motivation here, as you've already alluded to, is to collect some money in this situation?
Actually, the motivation is poetic justice. You know what I mean by that?
No.
It means that Bill Watts is running off his mouth in WCW magazine about how wrestlers should approach their careers in a business-like manner. That he doesn't feel that WCW should have to pay wrestlers when they get hurt in the line of duty because we're businessmen. We should have our own insurance. Well, Jim, I called up to see about disability insurance. You know what they told me? They laughed in my face. They turn on the wrestling show and they hear you saying, don't expect this guy's career to last very much longer. So I'm basically uninsurable. So what I'm going to do to create my financial future, to insure it, if you will, is I'm going to take that bounty off the head of Eric Watts. I'm going to stick it in my pocket. And when Cowboy Bill goes to visit his little son in the hospital and he says, why, he just has to look at his own self in the mirror and realize that if he'd taken care of me a little bit, maybe I would have taken care of his son. But that's not going to happen.
We'll be talking more about the Clash of the Champions that you can see live on TBS, live as it happens, 2.5 hour special in prime time on Wednesday night, January 13th, 8 o'clock Eastern time, 8:05 Eastern, 7:05 Central time. Let's go to the telephones and get a quick call. Tori, you're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack.
Yes?
Hello, you're on the air.
Oh, this is Tori.
Okay, Tori, how you doing?
Hey, I've been trying for 6 months. My first question is, Jim, I was watching TV, and I saw the Steiners. They were wrestling for the WWF.
Uh-huh.
I wonder why did they leave WCW?
Well, I think it was a combination of reasons, but I think primarily the reason is they didn't really they didn't come to contractual terms and agreement with WCW officials and decided to try the WWF. They had not wrestled there previously, so hopefully we wish them the very best of luck. They're an outstanding team. They're two good guys, and hopefully someday maybe they'll be back here in WCW to compete again. Cactus, I'm sure that you probably don't feel too badly that the Steiners are gone, because you've had some real wars with those guys.
Yeah, well, I like those wars, Jim. I'm going to miss them just like all the fans were. Rick and Scott, I guess, were doing what they thought was best for their careers, but I think somewhere in the back of their minds, they realized that a move to the WWF meant a move away from Cactus Jack.
Well, that's certainly one perspective, I would say. Tori, thanks for your call. We appreciate it, and hope it won't take you 6 more months to get on the air. We appreciate your call. Let's talk to Lee in Forest Park. Hi, Lee.
Hi there, Jim. I want to know what happened to Paulie Dangerously.
Paulie Dangerously is still I know he's still in WCW, but I don't really know what he's doing. He's not making a lot of television appearances, but I know that his presence is still felt from time to time, so I really don't know what he's doing. Cactus, could you add anything to that?
Well, I can say that Paulie Dangerously is the one dangling the bounty money out there on the fish hook. So as far as I'm concerned, Paulie Dangerously plays a big part in my future.
So he just hasn't obviously been making a lot of television appearances, and he's rather boisterous, so sometimes his absence is more noticed than others. But we do appreciate your call tonight, Lee, from Forest Park, and we want to remind everyone again that the big event coming up in the Omni will be on Sunday, February the 7th, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the Omni here in Atlanta. Remember, it's a Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. start in the Omni. Now, the card has not yet been finalized, but I'm going to tell you what I know on the event. Big Van Vader will defend the WCW World's Heavyweight Championship in the Omni on Sunday afternoon, February the 7th. Also, Sting will go one-on-one with Paul Orndorff. And I understand, by just a rumor, I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I understand that Medusa may accompany Paul Orndorff to ringside, which could be an interesting situation. Plus, a 6-man elimination tag team match has been inked as well. When you lose a fall or a decision, you must return to the locker room. Ricky Steamboat, Shane Douglas, and Dusty Rhodes will meet Flying Brian Pillman, Stunning Steve Austin, and Barry Windham. That should be a tremendous contest. Now, those are only 3 of the main events that have been signed for Sunday, February 7th, 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the Omni. Kids 14 and under. Tickets are only $2 with a paid adult admission. You can call 249-6400. That's Ticketmaster for more information. And tickets are available at all Ticketmaster outlets for the Omni in Atlanta. A big afternoon event, Sunday, February the 7th. We hope to see you there. And this portion of Wrestling with Jim Ross is brought to you by the WCW Magazine, and we'll be right back.
This is Michael P.S. Hayes with the Fabulous Freebirds. And, baby, when you're hot, you're hot. And the hottest thing going in talk radio today is Wrestling with Jim Ross here on AM 750 WSB. And if you think you're hot enough to handle it, call 872-0750 or 1-800-WSB-TALK.
Thank you very much, Michael Hayes, and welcome back to the program. Jim Ross along with Cactus Jack live here in Atlanta. Thank you for being with us here. Our meteorologist, the world-famous Kirk Headlock Mellish, has said that tonight it will be cloudy with a slight chance of rain. He's hedging his bets. Slight chance means it could or could not rain. A low of 45 degrees. Tomorrow, cloudy with a 40% chance of rain. High of 62 degrees. Right now, it's 48 degrees here on Peachtree in Atlanta. And we thank you for being with us. This is a quick look at the upcoming WCW calendar. This Tuesday, WCW Stars will be live in the Georgia Mountain Center in Gainesville, Georgia. 7 o'clock is the starting time on Tuesday night in Gainesville. On Wednesday, WCW travels to the Cradle of the Confederacy, meaning Montgomery, Alabama, at the Civic Center. That'll be a 7 o'clock start in Montgomery this coming Wednesday night. And then on Thursday, I have Blairsville, Georgia, the old middle school on Thursday night. Also, Little Rock, Arkansas, Barton Coliseum Friday night, and Pell City, Alabama, at the Civic Center in Pell City, Alabama on Friday night. These are benefit events in Pell City and in Blairsville, Georgia. And then on Saturday the 9th, Monroe, Louisiana, at the Civic Center, and Elberton, Georgia, at the middle school gym. That'll be on Saturday the 9th of January. And then 1 week from tonight, WCW will be in the Crescent City of New Orleans, Louisiana, downtown at the Municipal Auditorium. And then we'll be back at Center Stage here in Atlanta on Monday night, January the 11th, for a national television taping of WCW Saturday night. Then, of course, we talked about Milwaukee at Mecca on Wednesday, January 13th, Hammond, Indiana on the 14th, and Haleyville, Alabama on the 14th, Portland, Indiana, and Coleman, Alabama on the 15th, Detroit, Michigan, Cobo Arena on the 16th of January, Canton, Ohio, at the Civic Center on the 17th of January. Plus events coming up the next few weeks in Altoona, Pennsylvania, Springfield, Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Maryland, Norfolk, Virginia, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Roanoke, Virginia, Milledgeville, Georgia, Dublin, Georgia, White, Georgia, Waycross, Georgia. My gosh, we're all over the world here. Anderson, South Carolina, and Altoona, PA at the Jaffa Temple. All those events coming up, and we'll be happy to pass any of that information along to you here on the program, and we'll hit these dates again a little bit later in the broadcast. As I said, we're here with Cactus Jack in our studios here in Atlanta. We're going to be taking your telephone calls, 872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. All the lines are blinking again, and we are going to get as many on as we can, as we said, and we're going to go talk to Stephen in Stockbridge. Stephen, you're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack.
I'd like to ask, who won the King of Cable match at Starrcade?
The King of Cable match at Starrcade was won by Sting. He defeated Big Van Vader, and Cactus, he used some very unique strategy. He almost, it seemed as if he wanted to extend Vader to perhaps let him punch himself out.
Yeah, I heard the analogy kind of like Muhammad Ali and George Foreman in Zaire, Africa, where George Foreman just literally punched himself out and had nothing left. I don't think it was a case of Big Van Vader having nothing left. I think it was just a case of Sting having a little bit more. He said he went out before the match and said that he was going to tire Van Vader out, and that's exactly what he did. I was speaking to you before, and I said on a first-hand basis that was one of the top 5 matches I've ever seen in my life. So it leads me to ask, what kind of wars are these two going to have when it's no longer the King of Cable on the line, but the world's heavyweight champion?
Very good point. Stephen, thanks for your call. Let's talk to Frank in Atlanta. Frank, you're in Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack, and thanks for calling.
Hey, Jim, I got 2 quick questions.
Okay.
First of all, why is Paul Orndorff coming out of retirement?
Well, he's not coming out of retirement like in the last few months. Paul's been wrestling quite a great deal, I think, up in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and he's been doing some other independent circuits and that type thing. So he decided to make another run at it, and even though Paul is about, I'm 41 today, as a matter of fact. And,
happy birthday.
Thank you. And I lived that long. It's amazing. But he keeps himself in great shape. I really believe that the guy's got a lot of competitiveness left in him, and I think the guy could be a major player here in WCW if he can stay healthy.
Great. Secondly, Jack, Cactus Jack, I think you could beat Van Vader.
You know, I made that ply about 4 months ago when Van Vader, or 6 months ago when Van Vader was the heavyweight champion of the world. I said, now, wouldn't that be an interesting match? The immovable object against the immovable force against the unstoppable object. I think it would be a matchmaker's dream. No, I'm not quite sure. I'd have to go home and really think about ways to beat Van Vader, because to tell you the truth, in my mind, there is none coming to it. But I'd certainly welcome the chance. I just hope I'm working hard to try to get enough wins under my belt to be considered.
Frank, we appreciate your call tonight, and thank you very much here on the program. Let's talk to David in Austell. David, you're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Good.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
How are you, Cactus?
Good.
Jim, I got a couple of quick comments here.
Okay.
I'd just like to say that I was lucky enough to have front row seats for Starrcade.
Oh, good.
It was a great event. The crew treated the fans really good on that event, and the wrestling was exceptional.
You had some of those Golden Circle tickets, huh?
Yes, sir.
Good deal. Well, those were choice seats, and I was envious. If I guarantee you, if I was a fan, that's where I would have wanted to sit if I could have.
They had a VIP party for the fans where you could get autographs from some of the superstars.
Good deal.
But, Jim, what I caught about is I'm really mad about this situation with Arn Anderson.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean, David?
Well, him not having a contract for 1993. I mean, come on. Arn Anderson is much, much more successful than people like Slazenger, Pierce, Zink,
Arn Anderson's probably the finest tag team wrestler that I've ever seen, and I'm not so sure. And I'll tell you something else. As far as I'm concerned, he would fit into, if I had a top 10, if I had to put a team together of 10 wrestlers, I guarantee you he would be on that list. So you're basically preaching to the choir here. I agree with what you're saying, but that's in an area that I have absolutely no control over, no influence in.
Well,
but I understand. I'm sympathetic to what you're saying.
Bill Watts says that he wants the return of real wrestling, but keeping guys like Johnny B. Bad and Sting and getting rid of people like Arn Anderson and the Steiner brothers, I'm not
Well,
sure I understand his.
Well, first of all, David, Bill Watts didn't get rid of the Steiner brothers. They chose to leave, and that was certainly their decision. And again, as we've pointed out, we regret that they did make that decision, but it's a business decision. And again, contractual terms couldn't be reached. And sometimes that happens. You're going to see that happen a lot this year in the NFL. A lot of people are going to leave teams that people thought, well, these guys are a fixture. But a lot of people are going to be moving to other teams, just maybe more money, maybe change the scenery, maybe a different challenge. There's a lot of reasons, but I can understand. I agree with you on the Arn Anderson situation. I hope that something could be done there, but apparently, but something could change. Who knows? Who knows about that? Let's try to get one more call on here real quick before we go to our break. Let's talk to Jason in Augusta. Hi, Jason. You're on Wrestling with Jim Ross.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Cactus.
Hi.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you two questions real quick. I was wondering why WCW chose to use a couple of stars 2 or 3 times the night of Starrcade.
Lethal lottery drawings, random drawing.
Well, why didn't they have like some of the wrestlers used for the main event matches you had, and then have like Steve Austin?
Well, I guess I don't know, Jason. I'll tell you what. If you'll hold on, we'll get back. We'll get more from you here in a moment. We've got to take a break. This portion of Wrestling with Jim Ross is brought to you by the WCW magazine.
Now, more with America's leading wrestling broadcaster. It's Wrestling with Jim Ross. You can talk with Jim Ross and his guests by calling 872-0750. Now, here's Jim Ross.
Thank you very much, sir, and welcome back, everyone, to the broadcast. Good to have you with us here tonight in Atlanta. We're with Cactus Jack live in our studios here on West Peachtree in Atlanta. I want to remind everyone that WCW's next big pay-per-view event will be Super Brawl 3 on Sunday, February 21st, exclusively on pay-per-view. That will originate from Asheville, North Carolina. What a beautiful part of the country is Asheville, North Carolina, and that's where Super Brawl 3 will originate from this year on Sunday, February 21st. Next week, I hope to have some ticket information for you on that event, hopefully some phone numbers for some of you that may want to attend the event live. And we may be giving some tickets away for that as well here on the broadcast. So we encourage you, again, of course, to listen to us next week. We'll be back live with you here, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, here on AM 750 WSB. We were talking before we went to the news with Jason down in Augusta. And, Jason, you were holding so long, I wanted to allow you to finish your thoughts and your comments. Are you still there?
Yes, Jim.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering why didn't the WCW use all of the talent they had in Starrcade instead of just some of the guys? They used them 2 or 3 times that night.
Well, give me an illustration. Who didn't wrestle that you wanted to see?
Paul Orndorff.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, I saw Big Van Vader wrestle. I thought he was just going to be in the one match, and I saw Sting. A couple times I already knew, but like some of the guys, like Muta, I didn't know he was going to be in the match and in Battle Bowl as well.
Well, I don't think he did either till he got there. And then, so, Jason, you're asking a question that I don't really have an answer for. You're asking a philosophical question that I'm quite honestly, I don't know what the answer is. I thought that the tag matches, for the most part, were pretty competitive. I think any time that you put teams together randomly, and Cactus, I'm not a wrestler, you can elaborate on this much better than I, but I think any time you put random people together on I don't want to say it's spur of the moment. I mean, it's an impulse thing. Draw the name, there you go. Sometimes those matches are not as technically smooth and as technically perfect as a lot of us would like to see.
Well, that's right. No, I was in a different situation because I'd known for 3 or 4 weeks who my partner was going to be, but still there was no communication. I couldn't even talk to him beforehand because he wouldn't speak to me for some reason. But as far as the other people are concerned, sure, it's a blind drawing, so it goes to show that Van Vader didn't know he was going to be in Battle Bowl, but when you got that much prestige on the line and a $5,000 ring, sure, it's something that everybody wants. A lot of wrestlers put that right on a par with a Super Bowl or a World Series. People are vying for that. So of course, even though Van Vader is also competing for the King of Cable, he wants his hand in the Battle Bowl also, because a Battle Bowl win goes a long way to determining your financial future in WCW. So I think what you're basically have a problem with is odds, and there's nothing you can do about it. Odds are what they are.
Jason, thanks for your call tonight from Augusta. We appreciate you holding as long as you did, and we will hope to talk to you again soon. Let's talk to Jordan in Union, South Carolina. Jordan, thanks for holding. You're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack.
All right, first I'd like to say thank you for WCW, and I've got a few questions.
Okay.
Who won the, who continued to the U.S. title semifinals?
Well, the semifinals this week will see Ricky Steamboat and Barry Windham and Tony Atlas and Dustin Rhodes. That'll be this Saturday on WCW Saturday night. The winners of those matches will meet in the finals, and then the winner of that is scheduled to meet Ravishing Rick Rude on Saturday, January 23rd for the U.S. title on WCW Saturday night. That's obviously all contingent on Ravishing Rick Rude being able to compete at that point in time due to his neck injury.
Next, I'd like to ask, how did Big Van Vader win the title?
Well, Jordan, as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, I haven't seen the videotape yet. And Cactus, have you heard any of the scuttlebutt from the wrestlers regarding the match?
I haven't heard anything. I haven't been in contact with any of the wrestlers. I don't know how he won it. I'm just glad he did.
So, but we'll have that videotape on that match. Some highlights of it will be on TV this weekend. So catch the television and you'll find out when we all do. Because like I said, I haven't seen it either. I'm anxious to see it. We appreciate your call tonight from Union, South Carolina. Let's talk to Ryan, who's calling us from Knightstown, Indiana. Bobby Knightstown?
Yes, it is.
Well, Bobby had a bad day today, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Got beat by 3 points.
Yeah, that was a good ball game, though.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I got a few comments for Cactus.
What are they?
Well, Cactus, you're the all-time greatest, and I just like to... I remember you when you wrestled Eddie Gilbert, and those were all good all-time matches.
How could you remember that being from Indiana?
Well, I've seen a lot of wrestling. I just hope your man Tony Atlas wins the arm wrestling contest.
Well, yeah, I'm very proud of Tony. I was especially proud how he handled Van Hammer. It's I don't know if it's a secret or not. There have been a few problems in my little group there. Some guys maybe not paying attention when I want them to, but Tony's really showed what he was made of there against Van Hammer. He's going to continue to do that at the Clash of the Champions.
Yes, I hope so.
All right, Ryan, anything else?
What happened to Greg Valentine and Dick Slater?
I don't know where. I heard Greg Valentine is wrestling international tour maybe recently. Where did he go, to Africa or something?
Yeah, Nigeria.
Okay. He's just, both those guys, I'm assuming, are doing some freelance wrestling for some independent promotions and that type thing, to the best of my knowledge. But as far as I know, they're both still competing. They're both real tough guys. There's no doubt about that. Thanks for your call. Let's talk to Chris in Austell. Hi, Chris. You're on Wrestling with Jim Ross on News Talk Radio AM 750 WSB.
Hey, Jim, I've got some comments for Cactus, and then I have a question about Rick Rude.
All right.
Cactus,
yeah.
I hope you just really totally kill Eric Watts and collect the bounty, because he's nothing but a little punk loser. And I think you had a loser for a tag team partner at Starrcade.
Well, I agree with you on both points. I think you're going to be real happy. I've come into the Clash of the Champions with a plan, and I think it's about time that I collect that bounty, first of all, because it'll make me a wealthy man, and second of all, because Eric Watts certainly deserves it.
How do you figure that?
He deserves it, Jim, because he's been blessed, shall we say, with a bloodline that none of us other wrestlers have. You see, I didn't come up through wrestling having world champions from Japan showing me how to create submission holds. I had my Uncle Jake come over when I was a kid and kick me in the head, but it's not really the same thing, is it? What I'm saying is Eric Watts, when it boils down to it, doesn't even have enough guts to go up and tell his old man that he's about 3 years away from being ready to even step in the same ring with Cactus Jack. He doesn't have the guts to do that, so how do you figure he's going to have the guts to go up there? He wants to put his submission hold on me. It's no secret, Jim, I've been walking around with a $1,000 brace on my right knee for 5 months, so I'm an easy target. But if he gets prepared to put that hold on Cactus Jack, then I guarantee you this, my knee will give out before my will gives in, and then it's just a matter of where Eric Watts can hide, because I will find him.
Well, it'll be a good matchup. Chris, what is your comment about Ravishing Rick Rude?
Jim, I am just totally shocked by WCW trying to strip him of the title. He could beat any wrestler in the Federation, including Sting or Van Vader. And I'm just mad as hell, to tell you the truth.
Well, I can tell that, Chris, and I hope that you calm down a little bit. No,
Chris,
I understand I understand your convictions, and I respect your opinion. Don't necessarily agree with it, but that's not the point here. But Cactus, what do you have to say?
Oh, I think that Chris should take that energy and put it into a letter writing campaign because, Jim, whether you like it or not, there is the fact why when Rick Rude goes out there and he's hurt, why is there this immediate response to not believe him, whether or not it's true? Shouldn't you take him at his word? He's been told by doctors that he can't compete. You don't think he wants a heavyweight championship? I'm just saying that there's two different set of rules. When Sting was hurt, nobody knocked him. When Rick Rude's hurt, now the jury's out there and they're going to hang an innocent man.
Have you checked the last time he defended the U.S. title?
No, I haven't checked the last.
Well, I mean, that's just a small, minute detail. I mean, it's been about 45 or 50 days now.
Well, let me ask you this. How come a few years ago, Ric Flair hurt his neck and he was allowed 2 months?
How come 10 years ago or 15 years ago, Dory Funk Jr. was allowed 6 months? I don't know. I can't tell you.
Things are constantly changing. I just think, yeah, sure. If there's a 30-day limit and WCW wants to stick to that, then stick to it and have and take whatever measures they need to. But let's not have a different set of rules for Sting and Rick Rude. If you're going to play 30 days, it's got to be 30 across the board.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Let's talk to Rick in Roswell. Rick, you're on Wrestling with Jim Ross, and you got a question for Cactus Jack.
Hey, Jim. Hey, Cactus. How's it going?
Hey.
All right, who do you think's the most overrated wrestlers in WCW, Cactus?
Most overrated?
Yep.
Well, by and large, everybody who's in WCW is there because they proved themselves somewhere else along the line and have deserved to move up the ladder, with one glowing exception.
Yeah.
And that's Eric Watts.
Right.
That's why I'm taking it not just as my financial responsibility, but my civic duty to put him out of the sport.
Yeah. And, Jim, how did Rick Rude hurt his neck? Was it in a wrestling match or away from the ring or what?
No, I'm assuming it was, as far as I know, it was during a course of a match. And those things, too, I'll tell you something. After competing, what Rude's probably been around, 18 years?
Sure.
I'm guessing that may be wrong. I'll be corrected on that, I'm sure. But sometimes it's a cumulative effect. Chip away here, chip away there, and finally something happens. But I don't know if it happened in one specific match or if it was a cumulative thing that happened over a period of time.
Jim, Rick Rude wrestles a very physical style himself.
Right.
And Rick Rude, being in the shape he doesn't have the kind of natural shock absorbers that most people do. He's got very little body fat.
Exactly.
I guess that's catching up with him.
It can work for you or against you. In that regard, and he really does. He's in great shape, but that neck is really a delicate thing. Let's talk to Jacob in Westville, Illinois. Jacob, you're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack.
Hi, Jim. How's Cactus? How are you?
Hi.
I have 2 questions and a comment for Cactus.
All right.
First off, I'd like to say, Cactus, you're the greatest. I'm a big fan of yours, and thank you for the autograph photo you sent me.
I sent you an autograph photo.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you write to me?
Yep.
You see, Jim? I go that extra yard, and that's why, like I said, I may be in the top 10 of WCW, but I'm actually number 1 in the hearts of the fans.
You are.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, where is Jake the Snake at?
Well, we've discussed this thing on this program until probably everybody's tired of hearing it. Jake Roberts had some personal problems that he wanted he needed to take care of, and as far as I know, that's what he's still doing. He had some personal things to take care of regarding his private life, and really, I don't really want to react to it any more than that because it's really none of my business as far as his private life's concerned.
Okay, and I was also wondering when you guys are coming back to Danville, Illinois.
Danville, Illinois. I don't know if I have.
Jacob, I was there a couple months ago. Hopefully never.
I don't know if Danville is on the. I don't see Danville on the calendar for the next couple of months, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make a note of it. And if we have something scheduled there, I'll certainly make an announcement on there. We appreciate your call.
Jim, I'll just make a point about letters written to Cactus Jack. If you want something in return, first of all, you've got to write me a letter. No just, can I have your autograph, Cactus? It's got to be a qualifying letter stating, first of all, why you would like the autograph, why you feel you're deserving of it, and second of all, you need a self-addressed stamped envelope. So I'm a busy man. I've got a lot of things to do. If it's just a matter of sending out an autograph and putting it your way, sure. But don't expect me to address the envelope also.
Let's go back to telephones tonight. Ted in Uniontown, Pennsylvania. You're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack on News Talk Radio AM 750 WSB in Atlanta. Hi, Ted.
Hi, how you doing, Jim?
Good.
I got 3 questions. I live up here in Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. When is WCW going to come back to Pittsburgh? And I also want to know, with that, we lost WWF Wrestling on our station, Channel 11.
Mm-hmm.
What's the chances of WC&W taking over?
Taking over that slot?
Yeah.
Well, I had a meeting in Pittsburgh, Ted, about a month ago. I flew up there and met with Channel 11, and we're discussing some things. We're going to meet a little bit later on this month to see if there's a possibility that we could become affiliated with their station. It's ironic that that station is owned by the same group that owns WSB here in Atlanta, and so it's a great group of people, and hopefully something can come of that with one of our broadcasts on that station. I don't know. We're just talking right now, so certainly nothing official. But we would love to come to Pittsburgh on a regular basis. But again, once we strengthen our television position in the market, we'll have a better marketing opportunity there. But hopefully sometime in 93, Pittsburgh's going to become one of the at least semi-regular stops.
Did you know I learned to wrestle in Pittsburgh?
I did that. I certainly did.
And you said about a month ago that there's going to be some new wrestlers coming in. Is it possible that you can, on your show in the near future, give some background of the new wrestlers?
Sure. Yeah, Ted, I'll tell you what the deal is that I want to be sure that these people that are on their way don't have any contractual problems, and we don't get them in any trouble with their jobs. But I certainly will. And there are going to be some new faces. Matter of fact, several new faces I think will be competing in WCW, especially here in the early part of this year. I want to remind everyone once again the Clash of the Champions is going to be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin from Mecca on Wednesday, January 13th, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, live as it happens on TBS, 2.5 hours live in prime time. The big main event that's been signed, an 8-man Thunder Cage match. It's a no disqualification, come dressed as you are, street fight. And the teams signed include Sting, Ron Simmons, Van Hammer, and Dusty Rhodes. Their opponents are scheduled to be the Barbarian, Barry Windham, Big Van Vader, and Ravishing Rick Rude. Now, that, of course, is the tentative situation there is Rude's neck. And Ron Simmons has got a bad shoulder. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the program. But the Milwaukee, Wisconsin event is going to be live on TBS on Wednesday, January 13th. Ricky Steamboat and Shane Douglas defend the Unified World Tag titles against the Flying Brian Pillman and Stunning Steve Austin. Cactus Jack, my guest tonight in the studio, will meet Eric Watts in a bounty match. Heavy Metal Van Hammer goes one-on-one with Tony Atlas in an arm wrestling contest. Plus, you'll see the tag team of Johnny Gunn and the Z-Man take on the Wrecking Crew. Two Cole Scorpio takes on Scotty Flamingo, and Brad Armstrong meets Chris Benoit. It's going to be Mayhem in Milwaukee. Live on TBS, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Live on TBS from Mecca in Milwaukee, the Clash of the Champions, Wednesday, January 13th. And we'll be back with more of Wrestling with Jim Ross on News Talk Radio, AM 750, WSB.
Atlanta. This is the Stinger here for Jim Ross on AM 750 WSB. Give him a call and talk to him right now on 872-0750 or 1-800-WSB-TALK. Call now.
Thanks for being with us tonight. We certainly appreciate everybody calling, and the phones are still busy as they can be. We're going to get back to the telephones. Jim Ross along with Cactus Jack live from our studios in Atlanta on West Peachtree, 47 degrees right now in Atlanta. And, of course, we'll be back with you here next week, 9 o'clock Eastern Time for more talk about WCW and wrestling in general. And we're going to have another live guest in the studio next week, so we certainly hope that you will tune in. Let's go back to the telephones and talk to Anthony, who's been holding quite some time. Anthony, you're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack.
Yeah, I have 3 things to say.
Okay.
Will Hawk be coming to WCW, being that he and Kensuke Sasaki won the IWGP Tag Team title?
Don't know. Possibility. Haven't heard anything confirmed, but it is possible.
And, Cactus, I have 2 things to say, Cactus.
Okay.
So if you get Johnny B. Bad back after he punched you for you doing nothing to him?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really even thought about the fact that I didn't do anything to Johnny B. Bad. I just think that he's somewhat of a poor loser, a sore sport, and he figures he might as well get his shots in on Cactus Jack while he can. But I tell you what, I may get Johnny B. Bad back in a cafe or some rock and roll lounge club, but as far as now, my concentration is 100% on securing my financial future by retrieving that bounty that's been placed on Eric Watts' neck.
And will you say that Jeff Spencer said hi to Dr. Richard Levitt when you see him?
Run that by me again.
will you say that Jeff Spencer said hi to Dr. Richard Levitt?
Well, sure. Next time I see Dr. Richard Levitt, I'll tell him that Jeff said hello.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, buddy. Is that your psychologist or something? Anyway, let's talk to who we got here? We got James in Rome. Jason in Rome. Jason, you're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack.
Yeah, I got a couple questions for Cactus.
All right.
What happened to Abdullah? Did y'all have a couple of problems?
You know, I think my problems with Abdullah the Butcher are well documented. I don't think that our Jim, I'm at a loss for words. You know, Abdullah and I were together as one.
You were soulmates.
Ended. Yes, we were soulmates. I don't think that was as well documented. Abdullah does a lot of things. You see, he's in and out of my life, but he's constantly in the back of my mind. Right now, he finds that
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Right now, he finds that he makes a lot of money on the open market in places like Japan and Puerto Rico. But I'll guarantee you this: he's only one phone call or one good scream away.
I really don't think you could have picked a better partner than him, other than Tony Atlas. I remember when he was with the NWA, and he was one of my favorites then, and he's still one of my favorites. But the final comment I would like to say is that you're really not one of my favorites, but I hope you tear Eric Watts in half.
It's basically the lesser of two evils, and you hate my guts, but you hate him from head to toe, is what you're saying.
Oh, Cactus, I don't know. Let's talk to James in Batavia, Ohio. James, you're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack.
Yes, Jim, I was wondering what happened to Jimmy Jam Garvin.
Jimmy Jam Garvin, is, to the best of my knowledge, has gotten out of the sport of wrestling, and I'm not sure what he's doing. He may be doing something that has to do with aviation, but I'm not positive about that. Cactus,
and real estate.
And real estate.
I hear he's very happy, though.
Yeah, and we're happy for him. And he got out healthy, or pretty healthy, and that's always good news. Thanks for your call, James, from up there in Ohio. Yolanda, where are you calling from?
Me?
Yep.
Tushar, Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what's on your mind?
Oh, it's a lot. This is Jim Ross?
Yep.
Oh, when y'all come back to Freeport, Louisiana?
Coming back to Shreveport. Well, Yolanda, I think we're going to be we're going to be in Monroe on the 9th and New Orleans on the 10th.
I know. I'm telling you, I've been trying for about 2 months to get get on this on WSB.
Okay, well, why don't you ask us a question so we can get some of these other nice folks on also, Yolanda?
Yeah, the Cactus Jack.
Yeah.
Do you what you got against Sting?
What do I have against him? Personally, nothing. You see, let me tell you this. If you really get inside Sting and you tell him, if you just went out and asked Sting what he thought of Cactus Jack, he'd probably say he hates my guts. If you got inside his head and found out what he really thought of Sting, he'd probably say he loved Cactus Jack. Because I'll tell you this, if it wasn't for Cactus Jack, Sting wouldn't be where he is today. At the time I came into World Championship Wrestling, Sting needed a real jolt. He was put in a do-or-die situation, and Sting decided he was going to survive. And that's what he did. He became twice the wrestler when I was through with him as he was when I met up with him. So what I have against Sting? Nothing. He made me a household word, and he's made me a lot of money. But if he gets in my way again, I'll take him out of the sport.
Yolanda, thanks for your call from down there in Louisiana. We appreciate you calling tonight. Let's talk to Brett very quickly in Smyrna. Brett, you're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack.
Yes. First of all, a new U.S. title tournament. Even though I like Steamboat to win, I'd like to see Wyndham and Dusty Rhodes win, because that would be a phenomenal finals match.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. It sure would.
I'm not sure that Dusty is entered in that
Dustin.
contest.
He's talking about. I'm sure he's talking about Dustin. I'm thinking.
Yes.
What else, Brett?
My question is, what is your prediction for the U.S. title tournament?
Well, I'll tell you something. I think it'll be a finals between. It's hard to say who's going to. I think Dustin Rhodes has a good shot at beating Tony Atlas, and even though Cactus Jack is sitting here, no disrespect to Mr. Atlas, I think maybe Barry Windham is the guy that may. It's hard to say. That's just too close to call. Cactus, I know your thoughts are obviously lie with Tony Atlas.
You're talking about the arm wrestling? Well, I see.
No, we're talking about the U.S. title tournament.
The U.S. title tournament? Yeah. Okay, I was thinking there's not a thought in my mind, not a doubt that Tony Atlas is going to take the arm wrestling.
There's not a thought in your mind. Well, people have been saying that for years, but that's not the issue here.
No, I think as far as U.S. tournament, I think Tony Atlas with the right counseling Now, if he tries to do it on his own, he doesn't stand a chance. If he stands by me, then he has a good shot at winning the U.S. Championship.
Talk to Sue in Powder Springs. Sue, you're in wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Cactus. How y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Good. First thing, Mr. Ross, I want to thank you for the Christmas card you sent me. I thought that was real nice.
You're welcome. If you wrote me, you probably got a Christmas card.
Yeah, I got a Christmas card.
I answer all my mail.
Okay, thanks. And also, I wanted to ask a question about Eric Watts and Bill Watts at the OGWS. A couple years ago, in the OGWS, there was a blonde-haired kid, a young guy, doing the announcing. He was doing that thing when Jim Duggan and Ted DiBiase had the...
Eric, that was Joel Watts.
Joel Watts?
That's Bill's oldest son.
Yeah, whatever happened to him?
He's in television production, I think, out in California, but I'm not real sure. But out in California, I believe, Sue. We're running short of time. I want to get Mike on in Porterdale. Mike, you've been holding, and I appreciate it. You're on Wrestling with Jim Ross and Cactus Jack.
How you guys doing? It's good talking to you.
You bet.
I'm a Porterdale citizen down here, and they've got some good wrestling going on down here, and you guys were talking earlier about some new faces and stuff coming in WCW. Y'all ever heard of Rocket Randy Romance and Beautiful Brian, and there's Purple Haze? They're running around doing some good wrestling, and I didn't know if you guys have heard of them.
I'm not familiar with those guys, Mike. Anytime if you run across these people, or they can send videotapes to WCW, and I'll assure you that they'll be viewed.
I just don't know them personally, I just see them down here in Porterdale, and they wrestle,
Yeah, well, keep us informed on that deal, and hopefully we'll be able to, we'll check into it. We'll see, WCW, I know, looking for new wrestlers all the time. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all the telephone calls. All the lines are still blinking, but Cactus Jack, Clash of Champions, one-on-one with Eric Watts. We've got less than 30 seconds here, and I know it's going to be an exciting contest.
Well, sure, Jim. It's going to be exciting because the opportunity to see Cactus Jack put out Eric Watts out of wrestling is an exciting thought.
Don't forget the footage of Big Van Vader and his victory over Ron Simmons to win the world title this weekend on television. Check your listings to the main event, Power Hour at WCW Saturday night on TBS. For everyone here, I'm Jim Ross saying we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Man, how fun is that? That really is like a time capsule to hear JR talking to Mick Foley all those years ago. Next up, we've got Tony Schiavone. And this is way back when, Tony Schiavone. This is back before he was sporting a pencil beard, back before he had them cubic zirconias in his ear. This is back before Tony Schiavone even knew about manscaping. Gentlemen, if you don't already know, it's tax season here in the U.S. You know what that means? It means that Manscaped is here to make sure your paperwork is done and your boys downstairs are having fun. Make sure to spend your tax return money on the important things this year, like family, friends, and ball deodorant. That's right, ball deodorant, Tony Schiavone's favorite. Join the 8 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code Jim Ross. What better way to invest your tax return than in yourself? Manscaped has the full package from head to toe to make sure you get all your money's worth this April. The Performance Package 4.0 is the ultimate bundle you need to reinvent yourself and your confidence. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is the star of the show, offering a precise shave on all your wildest hedges. Equipped with an LED light, you can navigate in and out of those difficult areas with ease. Did we mention it's waterproof as well? More exciting news, the Performance Package 4.0 now includes Manscaped's brand new Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer. This bad boy has been totally revamped with a new and improved blade and motor, and dare I say, is the best ear and nose hair trimmer ever. It's cordless, rechargeable, and it comes with skin-safe technology, which helps you reduce nicks, snags, and tugs. And after clearing your nose, be sure to get rid of all that foul ball smell with the Crop Preserver and the Crop Reviver. That's right, the Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Reviver is spray-on toner for your balls. Keep your boys from sticking to your leg and leave them feeling brand new. For all my guys out there with a little scruff, they've even got brand new beard products. That's right, the whole package. We're talking the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It's the head honcho. It's got 9+ products plus wet goods. It's everything you need to craft your signature look. And the start of spring also marks the start of Testicular Cancer Awareness Month in April. Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to bring awareness to testicular cancer, men's health, and early cancer detection. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code Jim Ross at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code Jim Ross at manscaped.com. Don't just get your money back this year. Get your swagger back too with Manscaped. And now let's get to another interview. We've heard from Mick Foley. Now it's Tony Schiavone with his stinky nuts. You know he had stinky nuts 30 years ago, but not anymore. Now he's got the ball deodorant. He's all set, and you are too. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage. Here we go. Tony Schiavone on Jim Ross's radio show.
He's had an injury, and he's been rehabilitating an ankle injury or a foot injury or something. Well, can you give us any update on this guy? Who is this guy? What does he look like? You know?
He looks like physically almost looks like a taller Michael Hayes. Long, flowing blonde hair, very charismatic, can talk extremely well. I understand he has this neat little thing when he comes out. He has his guitar with him, and it sends pics out to the audience for souvenirs with his name on them. So
Wow.
that's kind of odd. So we look forward to seeing him.
You say he's a big guy, big in what, 6'2" or 3"?
Oh, I think he's about 6'5".
Oh, big guy.
Yeah.
A big guy. So we'll see if he debuts on Thursday. Sting, the new United States heavyweight champion, will take on the undefeated Johnny B. Bad, and it could be an interesting matchup.
That has all the makings of the best match on the card, only because Johnny B. Bad has so much confidence. Sting is Sting. He's red hot. He's one of our premier athletes. I look forward to that one, probably more than any.
Missy Hyatt will venture to the locker room once again to this time to interview the undisputed world's champion, Lex Luger. And the only thing I can say is that, as far as I know, Stan Henson is not on this event, so maybe she'll pull this one off. No pun intended.
And Eric Bischoff, our colleague, is there, so he will not be following her into her locker room, nor going into her locker room either. Like
he's trying to live down the Peeping Tom reputation he's earned, undeservingly, we should say, obviously. Ron Simmons and the Diamond Stud. Ron Simmons' alma mater, Florida State, started off well this week in football.
They sure did.
They destroyed, was it Brigham Young?
BYU, yeah.
And we'll see if Ron Simmons can come on national TV this Thursday and defeat the Diamond Stud. Both guys got a lot to lose in that. Simmons has already got a match ready to sign for October 27th at Halloween Havoc. But there's a lot of pride on the line on national television.
A lot of pride on the line. They have wrestled before on the main event. We've seen it before. I don't think there's any way Simmons can lose, although the Diamond Stud is pretty rugged, and it'd be interesting to see how Simmons does against a guy of that caliber. The guy really likes to mix it up.
And we talked about the press conference, the big press conference, and a contract signing. We know a little bit about that, but we know that the deal has been agreed to in principle. The official contracts will be signed Thursday night.
Right.
So that's between Lex Luger and Ron Simmons. They'll meet in a 2 out of 3 fall match, interestingly enough, at the Halloween Havoc on October 27th. And from what I'm understanding, all the deals has basically been struck, and they're going to do the official contract signing on TV on Thursday, which should be, I think, I don't remember having a contract. We've had a couple of contract signings, and each time we've had one, it's been
something's happened, Tom.
Chaotic.
Yeah, I know. And that brings up a good point when you said 2 out of 3 falls. That's the way it used to be. We've talked about it many times. I think in big matchups, that's the way it should be. I like 2 out of 3 fall matches.
Florida State coach Bobby Bowden is going to be making an appearance at the Clash of Champions, and we look forward to his statement. I know that he's really following the career of Ron Simmons very closely, one of his top athletes.
Ron Simmons had a tremendous career. We've talked about it extensively, and we had a chance to talk to Bobby Bowden. Went down to Tallahassee not too long ago, and he'll be with us at the Clash of Champions. Look forward to that.
We also will be having Bill Kazmaier, the world's strongest man, with a test of strength. He'll be attempting to break some sort of world strength record at the Clash. I don't know exactly. Is he going to try to break a record, or is he just going to do feats of strength?
He's going to try to break a record. I understand we've gotten in touch with the Guinness Book of World Records people, and he's going to try to break one.
We are going now to our telephones and get the show on the road, as we say. We are now talking to Byron in Peachtree City. Hi, Byron. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Okay, I have 2 questions. My first question is, why wasn't Nikita Koloff in the United States tournament last Sunday?
Because his employment with this company had been terminated on the Friday prior to that event.
Okay, my second question is there any way the fans in the Atlanta area can purchase tickets to Halloween Havoc without going to Tennessee?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and one that I cannot answer. Tony, you have any information on that?
I would contact Ticketmaster because usually Ticketmaster can get you tickets anywhere, or check with them. I'm not so sure who's the ticket agent for the UTC Arena of Chattanooga. My first call would be to the University of Tennessee Chattanooga, to their box office, and see what they say.
Okay.
Usually you can do it by mail.
Yeah, you might be able to get them by mail, and right now, if fans from the Atlanta area are interested in Halloween Havoc, the event is Sunday, October 27th. It'll start at 7 p.m.
Right
in Chattanooga. It'll be a tremendous pay-per-view event, and if you get your tickets now, I think it'd probably be very, very wise to not have to, get the better seats.
Right. That's what I do, Byron.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Give it a shot, okay?
Okay, I
Thanks,
sure will.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
a lot. This is, now we're going to Jeannie in LaGrange. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi. I got 2 questions and a comment.
Okay.
The first question is Robert Gibson don't be in on that Battle Warrior first tonight.
Robert Gibson. I don't think Robert Gibson is entered there, right, Tony? No, he's not on that at all. Okay, Jeannie, what's your next question?
Why don't WCW come to LaGrange?
Come to LaGrange? Well, I'll mention that. I'll write it down and give it to our event coordinators. I really couldn't tell you why, but I'm sure there's no boycott in the works. And do you have any other questions there, Jeannie?
And is it true that Tommy Rich joined the York Foundation?
Indeed he did, right, Tony? He certainly did. He's the newest member, and don't call him Tommy, call him Thomas. Thomas Rich. Thanks, Jeannie, for your call down in LaGrange. Back to the telephones. And Dimitri?
Oh, yes. How you doing?
Good, Dimitri. What's going on?
Oh, nothing much. I just like to ask about 2 things. Really say one thing and ask another.
All right.
The first thing I'd like to say is, well...
Keep it clean now, Dimitri.
Okay.
We got kids listening.
The first thing I'd like to say is, baseball and football take up world championship wrestling at least once a week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get wrong, you know. I like football, and I'm happy the Braves are number 1.
Me too.
When I go to work and come home, I like to do 2 things. 2 things that I like to do is
okay.
go to the phone, talk to my girlfriend, and look at wrestling. But so the hard doing that is the Braves are taking up wrestling.
Well, there's not a lot we can do about it here at WCW. We're very proud of the Braves and proud that they're doing well. And during baseball season, it's been pretty traditional that sometimes we're bumped around because of the other sports schedules. That's just a part of it. We wish the management of TBS, just as avid fans as you are, Dimitri, they'd like to see it on every week too. But these schedules are long in advance, and we just sometimes can't help it. But we do appreciate your call tonight here on AM 750 WSB. Fans, I do want to tell you that we have some tremendous sponsors on our broadcast, and I am extremely proud. Tony and I have been talking about this last time he was here. Our good friends from Impel Marketing, the Stomp Collection, the official trading card of WCW, and 162 cards in all. The inaugural set is available right now as we speak. It is available at wherever you see WCW wrestling, at most 7-Eleven stores, Eckerd Drugs, and Quickie Foods. And this is the official trading card of WCW. And as we said, Tony, you are a collector of baseball cards. If people are going to try to make this an investment down the road, now's the time to invest in these cards. What do you think? This is the first set. It's always worth a lot of money down the road, and you can only get these in the single packs. You can't really order the complete set right now, so it's a good idea to go out and get them because they are very nice trading cards. The hottest one being Jim Ross with his arm around Missy Hyatt.
Yeah, that's really hot. I can tell you that. I've signed that all over the country. And guess where I signed it, ladies and gentlemen? Well, anyway, we're going to talk more about the Stomp Collection. Remember, they're available at WCW Arena, 7-Eleven stores, Eckerd Drugs, and Quickie Foods. That's the Stomp Collection from Impel Marketing, and we'll be back with more on AM 750 WSB right after this.
This is Michael P.S. Hayes with the Fabulous Freebirds. And, baby, when you're hot, you're hot. And the hottest thing going in talk radio today is Wrestling with Jim Ross here on AM 750 WSB. And if you think you're hot enough to handle it, call 872-0750 or 1-800-WSB-TALK.
Thanks very much, Michael. And it's 81 degrees right now here in Atlanta, and it's warmer right now than the high is expected tomorrow to be. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a high of 75 degrees, according to our meteorologist, Kurt Mellish. As we said, right now, 81 degrees here in Atlanta. And Coach Jerry Glanville. Did you watch the game today, Tony?
I watched the first 3 penalties the Falcons had within the first 30 seconds, I guess.
You know, there's a lot of controversy over who the undisputed world's champion is, and the WWF showing Flair's belt.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Jerry Glanville was wearing Ric Flair's belt today on the sidelines. He had this huge belt, so I thought, well, maybe he's claiming to be the world's champion. What the heck, It's, never mind. Fans, the next weekend on television on 9:05 a.m., big matchup on the Power Hour. When we say big, we mean over 800 pounds in the ring because it'll be PN News and the one-man game. That'll be a televised main event Saturday morning at 9:05 on TBS. Saturday night, we invite you to join us on World Championship Wrestling because the United States tag titles will be on the line. The next Sunday, the main event returns with the old hardliners taking on the enforcers, Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko. And then on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, here on the East Coast, for us East Coast time people, WGN, Chicago's very own, with a television title matchup
stunning Steve Austin, scheduled to go against Dusty Rhodes.
In addition, during that program, my colleague, Larry Zbyszko, one half of the Enforcers, will make a challenge to Michael Jordan on that program.
Oh, really?
He will.
To wrestle?
No, to play golf.
Oh, to play golf.
Yeah.
Larry Zbyszko and Michael Jordan on the links.
Wouldn't want to see that one.
Oh, that would be...
Larry's not a friendly guy to be on the links with.
No.
Much less anything
How many did you get, Larry? Three. You were gone for an hour trying to find your ball. Never mind. Well, we're not talking about wrestling right now. We should be. I do want to tell you that our trivia contest tonight is very interesting. If you listen to our programs, you'll know this. Now, if you've won the contest before, you're ineligible to enter. I'm sorry about that. The number is 7410750 for first-time trivia callers. If you win, the first correct person to answer our trivia question, I will give you an entire shelf box full of Impel trading cards. That's a good gift.
That's a heck of a deal.
First correct caller, 7410750. Bill Kazmaier is recognized as the strongest man in the world. How many kilos or pounds did he lift in a bench press to set that record? Now, we mentioned on TV 2 or 3 times. If you're the first caller, call Phil here at the station, Phil Reed, our producer tonight, 7410750. And how much did Bill Kazmaier, the world's strongest man, lift in the bench press? And that is our trivia question for tonight. We're going back to the telephones, down to a long-distance line. We're going to Tony Schiavone's home state of Virginia. Hi, Carl.
Yes, I was wondering, was Justin Thunder Liger coming to America to enter the lightweight tournament?
Justin Thunder Liger is, I believe, going to be coming to WCW. He was unable to enter the tournament, but, Tony, we saw Liger in Tokyo this year, the great junior heavyweight champion that they have. I think he's coming here, once this tournament is concluded, he's going to be one of the first guys internationally to challenge the winner. Is that right?
I think that's correct. We've heard talk that some guys from some of the athletes from Japan will be coming here near the end of the year, and hopefully he'll be one of them. I'm not so sure who will be coming here, but there'll be some from New Japan.
I'm pretty sure that Justin Liger will be one of the first men here to challenge the winner of this tournament. And the finals of the lightweight tournament will be held on October 27th at Halloween Havoc. You have any more questions there, Carl, from Prince George, Virginia?
Yeah, one more. I was wondering, how do you feel about the NWA changing its name to WCW?
Well, I pretty well took it in stride because it wasn't a decision that we wanted to turn our back on the great fans and the heritage of the NWA. That was a decision made in a boardroom with a bunch of lawyers in it. So it really wasn't something that us wrestling fans had anything to do with.
It was almost like a business decision because the NWA, as we all remember it, no longer exists. So it was just a decision to change the name based on what they thought was good business.
Thanks, Carl, for listening to AM 750 WSB. And back to the phones to Sage and Ackworth.
Hi.
How you doing tonight?
Okay, I have 2 questions. My first question is, how is Scott Steiner?
Scott Steiner is in rehabilitation, but I still think it's going to be close to the first of the year. I mean, it'd be a great Christmas gift for all of us, but I'm not being pessimistic. Tony, what do you think? I think it's going to be January, maybe.
They have him scheduled to come back and be part of Halloween Havoc, Jim. I've seen the Halloween Havoc card.
I'm just skeptical of it, actually.
I talked to Rick. Rick said he has no pain at all in that arm right now, although he has no strength in that arm either, as far as he cannot go back and bench press or anything. So he has no strength, he has no pain, but I think you're right. It's going to be maybe the first of the year before we see him.
What's your other question, Sage?
Well, my other question, when was he going to be back? So.
Well, we're hoping that he's back at Halloween Havoc, but it may be as early or as late as January. But we're going to keep our fingers crossed for him. Thanks for calling tonight on the Wrestling with Jim Ross. Back down the telephones, and Kevin in Smyrna. Hi, Kevin.
Hey.
What's going on tonight?
Well, got 2 questions for you.
Okay.
Okay. This Thursday at the Clash of Champions, Sting against Johnny B. Bad. Is the U.S. heavyweight title up for grabs?
No, it's not a title match.
Okay. Second question is, I like Japanese wrestling a lot, and I just want to know, is there going to be another Japan Super Show?
As a matter of fact, yes, there is, because we're going to be there on January the 4th of 1992, because there's nothing in the world that I like better than to spend my birthday in an airplane somewhere over the Pacific Ocean on January 3rd.
I think we're going to be in the air a total of 30 hours and spend maybe 15 hours in Japan this time. This is what it's going to be like.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun.
We're looking forward to going, and Kevin, we're big fans of Japanese wrestling, too. We're going to be going over there, so that show will be sometime in January and sometime in the early to mid-spring. It'll be on pay-per-view, so we appreciate you calling tonight. And back to the telephones. Let's see here. Hi, Mark.
How you doing, Jim?
Good.
I really enjoy you guys' work on TV. I have a couple questions. First of all, considering the original Halloween Havoc proposed lineup that didn't include Sting and Lex Luger and other highly questionable WCW decisions from a booking standpoint, have you ever discussed the possibility that Virgil Runnels might still be on the payroll of Titan Sports?
Oh, I don't think there's anything to that, Mark.
I've heard.
Do you have connections, Mark? What are you talking about here?
Just talking to different people on some of the computer services, and just the way some of the things have been run, and and especially with the Flair situation, he basically being forced out. One would just wonder. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Well, it's an interesting concept, Mark, but I really don't think so. I think Mr. Reynolds, you mentioned, is working very diligently and very hard to try to provide a real exciting product for everybody. And sometimes your ideas work, and sometimes they don't. And I mean, the Red Gun offense didn't work today either.
Oh, that's true.
And the Braves didn't score enough runs to win. So, I mean, sometimes things just don't work out. But anyway, what else is on your mind tonight, Mark?
One other quick question. When you have the Clash of Champions, when you're working with 2.5 hours, who makes the decisions to try to cram so many matches into the format? I think this week you've got, 150 minutes, which is 2.5 hours. Why go with 10 matches when it limits you to 15 minutes?
I think we got about 9. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a break for the news. And we'll answer your question when we come back right after this on AM 750 WSB. Welcome back, everyone, to Wrestling with Jim Ross here on AM 750 WSB. We're talking about this Thursday night's Clash of Champions event that you can see live on TBS at 8:05 Eastern Time, 2.5 hours live. And we had an interesting question from Mark and Marietta before we went to the news, talking about the production of the shows. And I think that we have taken every caution that this show will be given the time to have some good matches. I think that we've got 9 matches. I don't know. I think with 9 matches and a few interviews, we're going to be able to see some good wrestling on Thursday night.
You counted up 9 matches, and I think within the time allotted, we're going to have a lot of wrestling, and it's going to be one of our better programs.
I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. I think it's going to be one of the, because quite honestly, this Clash is not, we're not rolling into this Clash with a great deal of momentum.
Not at all.
And I think that with the wrestlers, the matchups that they're going to see, and the leading into Halloween Havoc, the intensity is going to be there, and the desire and the importance of these matches are going to be there. I really believe sincerely that it's going to be one of the better Clash of Champions events we've had ever on TBS. I guess this will be, the 16th one?
16th one. And I think that you're going to see a lot of matches that mean a lot. We have the finals of the tag team tournament. We have 2 men who will win a couple of matches and go on to the championship of the light heavyweight tournament. So there's a lot of meaningful matches there. So it's going to be a good program.
Certainly are. We're going to telephones now. Hi, Dan.
Good evening.
You're in Duluth, Georgia.
Yes.
How you doing tonight?
Pretty good. I have a comment and a question for you. First, my question. I heard, it was a rumor, I haven't heard or read about it yet, that 4 or 5 wrestlers got together and had a shot put tournament, and Z-Man won. Have you heard anything about that at all? There's a rumor going around, but I haven't seen or read about it at all.
A shot put tournament?
Yeah, and Z-Man won it.
No, I heard they did have a track meet, and they had a javelin throw, and Paul Lee Dangerously was a javelin catcher. No, only kidding you, Dan.
And my comment, I wrote a poem about Lex Luger. It's real short, and it's not negative or anything. Can I read it?
Is it tasteful, Dan?
Yeah, yes, it's
Is your mom and dad listening to this right now?
Yes, they are.
Okay, then go ahead.
Okay, Lex Luger.
I don't know. See, you know what happens? Get these darn kids and drinking this cat. They need to be on decaf.
They sure do.
Too much cocoa for Dan there in Duluth, and I know there's a lot of nice people in Duluth, but anyway, we're not going to talk about Dan. We're going to go. I'm glad Dan listens. Hi, Mike.
Yes.
How you doing, Mike?
Doing great, Jim. How about yourself?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for calling AM 750 WSB. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, thank you for talking to me. A couple of things I've got on my mind, Jim. A couple of comments for you, and maybe a suggestion for World Championship Wrestling. A long-time viewer of your show on Saturday evenings. I would like to see it like back when you were in the UWF, back in the Oklahoma area, where you might see the matches more timely. We're used to seeing matches here in the Gainesville, Georgia area from the Mountain Center, where you might take several matches. And I'd like to see, maybe instead of those matches being seen maybe 2 or 3 or 4 weeks in the future, more timely. That way we would get to know what's happening more with World Championship Wrestling at a sooner time.
Keep it more current.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Mike, a lot of those problems, when I was working in the UWF, in the Mid-South area for Cowboy Bill Watts, we had we produced 2 shows a week, and right now I guess we do about 9 shows here because I'm on 5.
Right.
You know,
we see you a lot.
So yeah. So I think there's some production deadlines that affect what you're requesting. I think what you're requesting is an ideal situation. I think that we do need to make it more current, but just if it can be as current as it was at one time, might be physically impossible. But it's certainly something to work towards.
I'm a sportscaster up in this area, and I follow wrestling. I know what you're talking about with the production quality. Also, Jim, I'd like to see one thing possibly with the World Championship Wrestling. You and Tony talking about wrestlers coming into the area. Maybe in the future we could see it back like the old NWA, like you were talking about. Maybe getting some of these smaller associations that keep going in and out of business, maybe as feeder programs for World Championship Wrestling.
Well, Tony, there's a lot of philosophies on that. I believe that the smaller organizations, that the local organizations like that wrestle around here in Georgia, they're a good feeder system for WCW or for any other group for that matter. But I believe that there's a place for those size organizations.
I think there's a place too, and that was a good comment. I think they are feeder organizations now. I think that's where we get a lot of our stars from. That's where we're getting Van Hammer from. Chip the Firebreaker wrestled in those organizations. I think they are now, but I don't think you're going to see them be part of WCW or maybe even the WWF.
Jim, Tony, thank you for talking to me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Mike, for calling AM 750 WSB. We're going to go down and talk to another Mike. Mike is calling us from Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Mike. Welcome to the program.
Hi. My comment, or kind of like a question, is how come when I watch on Saturday, the matches, many of them will be against top contenders, and then there'll be some guy like Joe from, just like you, taking him from the crowd. Why is that? Well, I think TV, there should be more primetime matches because everybody's watching.
We only gave Joe the chance to wrestle one time, Mike, and, he kind of blew it, so... He's back in the crowd.
He's back in the crowd.
He's back in the crowd.
Well,
it's impossible to have every match on TV a main event. It's physically impossible for time restraints. You can't get the guy signed for matches each and every week on TV. It's an impossibility. What you try to work towards is that if you have so many minutes allotted for wrestling within the hour, that the majority of that time be devoted to quality wrestling. And sometimes we accomplish that, and quite frankly, Mike, sometimes we don't.
A lot of the big stars will not sign for main event matches on TV. They don't want the mass to see them possibly lose. So it's very tough to get those signed.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike, for your call. Mike called us from Bowling Green, Kentucky. We appreciate that very much. We have a winner in our trivia contest. So for those of you that are calling 7410750, stop that. The winner of the contest is Todd Wiley. And Todd lives here in Atlanta. My question was, how many kilos or pounds did Bill Kazmaier lift to set the world's record in bench pressing? And the answer is 300 kilos, 661 pounds.
Whoa.
Source, the Guinness Book of World Records.
There you go.
In powerlifting. So, Todd, thanks for listening, and congratulations. And I will be mailing you a set of the Stomp Collection trading cards from our good friends at Impel Marketing just in the next few days. We're going back to telephones, another national number. Michael is calling us from Sunrise, Florida. Hi, Michael, and welcome to AM 750 WSB.
Thank you. I got 3 questions. One is, with the 6-man tag team titles, will they be on the line at the Clash for Champions?
No, the 6-man titles will not be on the line at the Clash, because those guys were already previously signed to be in other events like the Battle Royal, or the Z-Man is challenging Austin for the TV title that night.
And Sting, with his with Abdul the Butcher, and Missy Hyde said tonight on the main event, she said she knew where 3 people were. Did she tell you?
She didn't tell me. It's on the hotline though right now till midnight. Tony, that's an interesting situation that Michael brings up. Is somebody sure wants Sting out of wrestling badly, and Abdul the Butcher gets sent in a gift wrap box. Somebody's got to have a lot of money to pay the freight. Especially by the pound.
And to be able to get Abdullah the Butcher to come here to World Championship Wrestling, he does not come cheap.
No, he doesn't even wrestle here regularly.
No, he doesn't.
So, that's just an interesting situation. And what's your other question, Michael?
And do you know who's participating in the Battle Royal at all?
We sure do. We can tell him. As a matter of fact, my colleague Tony Schiavone is hot off the wire, has it right in his hand right now, Michael.
Okay, Michael, Z-Man will be in the tournament. Thomas Rich of the York Foundation, Beautiful Bobby, both young pistols. Oz will be in it. PNUs that Jim had talked about before. Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker will not be writing tickets, but he'll be in it. Stunning Steve Austin, the Natural Dustin Rhodes, Terrence Taylor, Big Josh, Barry Windham, the One-Man Gang, and El Gigante.
4,310 pounds in all will be in that one. That should be quite a situation. Thanks, Michael, for calling us from Sunrise, Florida. Back to the telephones. We're rocking now. Danny is in Jonesboro. Hi, Danny.
Yes.
You got a question for Tony Schiavone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's have it.
I want to know why Tony went to the WWF.
That's a good question. Put him on the hot seat. Why did you go to the WWF, Tony?
Well, I was working for Jim Crockett Promotions at the time, and the WCW people offered me something, and I had a chance to talk with Vince McMahon, and I said, the heck with these people. I'm going to go north, and I did. It was like a business decision, Danny, you know. How old are you, Danny?
11.
Okay, you got a long time before you have to make a business decision, but it was one of those decisions that I thought I had to make, and I don't regret it. It was a year where I learned a lot.
What else, Danny, got on your mind?
Oh, I want to know, Jim, who do you think's going to win the tag team tournament?
Well, I tell you, I think that if nothing unforeseen happens, like, you know, between now and then, like somebody gets ill, if they're at full strength when the matches takes place, if Kazmaier can occupy just either Zbyszko or Anderson, I think that Steiner can beat the other guy. And I think that Steiner and Kazmaier will win it. Tony goes the other direction on that deal.
Yeah, I think the Enforcers will win.
So it should be an interesting deal. Thanks, Danny, for calling us down here on AM 750 WSB. Back to the phones. David in Snellville. Hi, David.
Hello.
How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I have two questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is what was Lex Luger's decision for completely turning his back on the Friends and joining with Harley Race?
Why don't you answer that, Tony?
I think Lex Luger was influenced a couple of things. I think mainly he was influenced by Harley Race and the fact that when Harley Race came into the picture and Luger immediately became the world heavyweight champion, Luger saw that as the turning point. Harley Race convinced him that, hey, if you win the world title, you have to go my way. So that was the thing. I think Harley Race had a lot to do with it. And I also think that we are seeing, and we've talked about this before, Jim, we are seeing the real Lex Luger, the Luger that we all know on the inside.
The deal is that quite bluntly, David, Lex Luger's a jerk. Lex Luger's been a jerk last year. He was a jerk the year before that. He's been a jerk ever since I met him. He never liked to sign autographs. He never liked to be around fans. He always looked down on them. And but because of his position in the company, he was forced by WCW management to be a little bit more compatible and treat people with a little bit of tact. And now that he's the big cheese, he treats them any way he wants. That's unfortunate. But we appreciate your call tonight here on AM 750 WSB. Back to the telephones. And who do we have in College Park?
Miss Thunder.
Miss Thunder.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Okay.
Hey, Jim, I've been watching Paul E. lately on the TV, and I have noticed that he looks like he's gaining some weight. And I was wondering, you know, his jaws were looking bigger, and I was wondering if that's because he's running his mouth so much or is he's eating so well.
No, he got a bunch of coupons for some smorgasbords, and he's been hitting those babies on a regular basis. You know, Paul's very, very thrifty with his money. What do you say, Tony? Cheap. He's cheap. He's cheap. But I'll tell you what we'll do. I will promise you that we'll let Paul know that you think that he is gaining some weight around the jowls, and we'll be sure and tell him that tomorrow.
He is gaining some weight, but I got one serious question. What does WCW pay the wrestlers? I mean, we know what every baseball and football player in the world makes. What do wrestlers make?
I think the salaries vary based on how good their agents can negotiate. We've had wrestlers make $750,000 or $800,000 a year guaranteed. We've got guys making $300,000 and $400,000 and $500,000, and we've got guys that are making
$300 a night, depending on how many times they work.
$300 a night. So it's a big scale there, a sliding scale. There is no sliding scale when it comes time to talk about my loyal sponsor, and what a segue, ladies and gentlemen. My good friends from Impel Marketing in Raleigh, North Carolina, the manufacturers of the Storm Collection. Tony and I got in this a little bit earlier. Tony is a collector of baseball cards. And if you are fans of wrestling, and another thing that these Stomp Collections are really neat. I got a letter the other day from a lady that wanted me to autograph a baseball card for her son, and it was going to be his birthday present. She had bought a bunch of trading cards, pulled my card out, mailed it to me. I signed it, sent it back to him for a birthday present. So my point is, these make great gifts for the wrestling fans in your family.
They make tremendous gifts because, like we said, they are the inaugural set, and they will be the set worth a lot of money. And people who are not even wrestling fans are buying these cards, so they're very, very popular.
Very good investments right now. Wherever you see WCW action in the arenas, you can buy the Stomp Collection. Also at most 7-Eleven stores throughout the Southeast, Eckerd Drugs, and Quickie Foods. And fans, we'll be back with more. If you'd like to join us, it's 872-0750 or 1-800-WSB-TALK. This is Wrestling with Jim Ross on AM 750 WSB. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Wrestling with Jim Ross. Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone with you here. About another 6.5 minutes. We're going to try to get everybody on that has gotten through. Remember that this Tuesday night we'll be in Perry, Georgia at the Reeves Arena, 7 o'clock for national television taping. Thursday night in Augusta, Georgia at the Civic Center. That's an 8:05 television start. 2.5 hours of live wrestling action. 9 great matches. Should be, I think, going to be a real outstanding television program. And if you fans are in the area or where you can, join us in Augusta, because I know that tickets are still available for that event. And then we return to the newly refurbished center stage. It's going to really be something for wrestling on Monday, September the 16th, national TV taping there. So we got some big events coming up the next few weeks. And this coming weekend, the Power Hour, WCW and the main event all return to their normal broadcast times on TBS. We mentioned that on WGN. Tony Schiavone and Larry Zbyszko will be bringing you a television title matchup, Stunning Steve versus Dusty Rhodes, and Larry will be challenging Michael Jordan on that program to a golf showdown.
You really will. Let us add also for our fans in Augusta, we will start in the building at 7:30 with something special for you that will not be on TV, so get there early.
We're going to get something special from Mountain View, Missouri. Who we have on the air?
This is Miracle.
Miracle.
Yeah.
Miracle, what's up?
I want to get a couple quick comments and a question for you.
Right.
I want to congratulate Sting for winning.
Winning the United States title.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to congratulate Dustin and B-Man and Big Josh for winning the 6-man.
Okay, we'll sure tell them.
And also, I was wanting to know on, I'm undecided who to root for the clash between Rick Steiner and Bill Kazmaier and Arn and Larry.
Mm-hmm.
If Rick and Bill should win, and Scott comes back when he's done with his injury, will Bill and Rick have to defend it, or can Scott defend it with Rick?
No, it'll be Kazmaier and Rick Steiner will be the champions, yeah.
Okay.
Scott Steiner would be on his own in that matter. But the thing about that, Miracle, is that we don't know when Scott Steiner's going to be back, and life must go on, and Rick's got to make a living.
Yeah.
So he's got to wrestle, and he's got a chance, I think, Tony, to be, I know we disagree on the pick, but it's going to be that close a match.
It is, because of the ability of Steiner and of Kazmaier. And you made up a good point, that if Kazmaier can keep him occupied or keep his side of the team going, Steiner can defeat either one of those guys.
I think the strategy here is that Kazmaier's got to create a one-on-one situation for Rick Steiner to operate in. If he can do that, I think he can beat anybody.
Yes, and I wanted, when is Dustin going up for the TV title now?
Dustin's going to be challenging Stunning Steve on WGN this coming Saturday, and that's on cable, unless you live in Chicago, of course. Chicago's very own Channel 9 this Saturday. I know here in Atlanta, it's on cable, and it's on at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Miracle out there where you live in Missouri, that would be 10 o'clock. Thanks for calling AM 750 WSB. And let's see here. Billy, are you there?
Yeah.
How you doing?
All right. How about you?
Good, thank you.
I got one question for you and one for Tony.
Okay.
Who all did Sting have to beat in the U.S. title tournament?
Don't you know that?
I know he defeated Steve Austin in the last match.
Okay, that's good enough. All right, this one's for you, Tony.
Okay.
You spent a year in the WWF.
Yeah.
I was wondering what kind of intercontinental champion you think Bret the Hitman Hart will make.
I think he's going to make one of the greatest. He was a tremendous tag team champion. He works very hard, and I think it was great to see him win that title.
Yeah.
You know, Tony went to WWF. He gave you the fans a very truthful answer, but he really wanted to go up there and train under Howard Finkel.
Right.
Howard.
I learned a lot, too.
Learned a lot from Howard.
I sure did.
Okay, you two do a great job. Keep up the good work.
We're going to do, well, thank you for calling. We're going to have a lot of fun, seriously, on Thursday night, too. I can tell you that. We're going to try to get on the call in here, number 3. Brian?
Yeah.
How you doing? You're calling from Seneca, South Carolina. What's on your mind tonight?
I was wondering, I heard that Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert was coming to WCW for the light heavyweight tournament, and I was trying to find out if that's true or not.
Well, they had him tentatively scheduled to come in to compete in the tournament, but for whatever reasons, he decided not to come to WCW at this time, so I don't think that he's going to be in this tournament as far as I know. Tony, you know why he didn't come?
No, I understand that, as a matter of fact, the tournament began, if I recall, when we were in St. Joe, Missouri at the beginning of August, and we were expecting Eddie Gilbert to be there that night. He did not come that night. I understand he had sent a letter. His reasons remain with Jim Hurd right now. I don't know why.
So it was a personal thing, and we respect and honor his wishes. Wish he was here. He's a good athlete.
Yeah.
What else, Brian?
I want to know, whatever happened to Jim Crockett?
Whatever happened to Jim Crockett? Jim Crockett is living in Dallas, Texas, and is still a consultant with the World Championship Wrestling. Beth in Swanee, how are you?
Fine.
What's on your mind tonight?
Jim, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I go to a lot of the matches, especially the TV tapings.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, on August the 12th, we was in Gainesville.
Mm-hmm.
Why have we not seen it on TV yet?
You're going to see that on September the 7th and September the 14th on World Championship Wrestling, Saturday nights at 6:05. And I appreciate you calling tonight, Beth from Swanee. Tony, thanks for being with us here tonight.
Jim, thanks. Always good being with you. Look forward to being with you in Augusta on the 5th.
It's going to be a lot of fun in Augusta, Georgia on the Thursday night. Remember, fans, it starts at 8:05 Eastern Time. You can see it live as it happens on TBS. Don't forget, this Tuesday night we'll be in Perry, Georgia at the Reeves Arena. On Thursday, as we mentioned, in Augusta at the Civic Center. If you want to be with us in the building live, then tickets are still available. And then we'll be back at Center Stage on West Peachtree in Atlanta on Monday, September the 16th. For Phil Reed, our producer tonight, and Tony Schiavone, I'm Jim Ross saying thanks for being with us on Wrestling with Jim Ross. This is AM 750 WSB.
So now that we've heard from Tony Schiavone and Mick Foley, it's time for our main event. It's time for the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And man, I can only imagine how proud Dusty would be if he was here to see his baby boy main event WrestleMania. Man, is it just me, or Cody looked like he was in better shape than ever? I wonder if he's starting every day with athletic greens the way I am. Come on now, check out AG1. If you're looking for, maybe you hate taking pills or vitamins, maybe you only want to try this if it's a supplement that tastes great, maybe you just want to see what the hype is about, maybe you want better gut health, maybe you don't think you have time, maybe you want more energy, maybe you want to optimize your immune system, buddy, this checks all the boxes. Now, what is this stuff? Well, check it out. You get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Everything you need to help you start your day right with just one, that's right, just one delicious scoop of AG1. It's a special blend of ingredients to support your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, your focus, your recovery, your aging, all of the things. Think of it as like your all-in-one nutritional insurance. It's lifestyle friendly. Whether you're trying to do keto or paleo, or maybe you're vegan or dairy-free or gluten-free, no problem here. It also has less than 1 gram of sugar. No GMOs, no artificial anything, no nasty chemicals. And it still somehow, some way, still tastes good. You're going to love it. And by the way, I can't recommend this enough. This costs less than $3 a day. Really, think of it as that all-in-one nutritional insurance that's going to make sure that you're feeling good, you got more energy, you're getting better sleep quality, better recovery, better mental clarity, better alertness. And man, something that Jim and I are always so impressed by. They've got over 7,000 5-star reviews. You hear me? 7,000 5-star reviews. When's the last time you went out of your way to leave a review for anything? Well, right now it's time to reclaim your health and arm yourself. Arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just 1 scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. Let's make it easy. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is visit athleticgreens.com/JR. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/JR to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And now let's get to our main event. Ladies and gentlemen, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes on Jim Ross's radio show like 30 years ago. Let's go.
It's in our profession, and it's a great honor to be on with you tonight. We're going to have a good time, I know that.
We're going to have a good time, and thank you for those kind remarks. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking your calls in just a little while, but I want to spend the very first part of the program to remind you that during the hour, we're going to be talking about the big event coming to the Omni. Of course, that next event is on Sunday, June 23rd. Also about this Wednesday night's Clash of Champions television broadcast on TBS, Knoxville, USA, live in prime time Wednesday night. We'll also be touching on our next pay-per-view, the Great American Bash. That's July 14th. We'll talk about the Bash Tour. We're going to be talking about some of our broadcasts coming up on TBS. A lot of things to talk about. We have our trivia contest tonight, and I'll also be a little bit later in the program telling you about my very special guest here next week on the broadcast as well. But Dusty Rhodes was a man that was raised in Austin, Texas. Many of you fans know, the son of a plumber. Went to Johnson High School. Went on to West Texas State University and played football and baseball at West Texas State. Got in the wrestling career in the latter part of the 60s. We're going to talk about that. But Dusty, your fans know him for years on TV. They talked about the son of a plumber from Austin, Texas. And that was not some press agent's hype. That's a true story, isn't it?
No, I grew up in the east side of Austin, which was the bad side of town. And on our football team, there were, as we know nowadays, we talk about segregation, everything throughout the country. On my football team in high school, there was 2 white kids, and there was mostly Mexican Americans and blacks. I grew up in that neighborhood. My dad was a plumber. His whole life, he died as a plumber. And one thing about being from Austin and growing up in that environment that I did, I learned what it was to be a common person, and I tried to apply that later on in my profession. And I guess that's why I drew to the people like I did, because I never lied to them. I told them how it was going to be, and I tried 100% to give it to them, and that's my Austin background.
When you were a youngster, you worked right alongside your daddy in the ditches and working in plumbing, and you didn't kind of grow up in no country club lifestyle when you were a youngster, did you?
No, I remember one time I was in the ditch real quick, just real briefly. I was in the ditch in the store with my dad, because I was 8 years old when other kids were going out in the summertime. I did play Little League ball very successfully, I might add, but growing up, I was in the ditch during the day, and Dad went in, he told this lady, he'd say, don't do anything with the toilet, don't flush the toilet, because we're going to be in the ditch. And of course, I was in the ditch. I was about 11 years old at the time. And one of the funniest stories was that she did flush the toilet, and I knew right then I wanted to get out of there and be something else.
I want to be something else besides a plumber. You went to West Texas State University in Canyon, Texas, and not only, as I mentioned earlier, you played football, but you also played baseball. A lot of fans not aware that followed your wrestling career over the years that you also were a pretty good baseball player. I know that we were talking one time about your home runs. One year, you were right up there with Sal Bando in college, weren't you?
But Jim, back in my later years in West Texas State University, I led the nation in RBIs. We ran out of ball games. Arizona State and Arizona then played 70, 75, 80 games. And Rick Mundy and Sal Bando and Reggie Jackson, I played against them. And at one time I was leading the nation in RBIs. Red Murphy, scout for the New York Mets, very noted scout. Anybody that knows baseball throughout the country, with the Braves, anybody else knows Red Murphy. Me and Kenny Boswell were brought out of Austin, Texas. Kenny Boswell went on to play second base for the New York Mets in the World Series, the miracle year where they hit the home runs. And I kicked around in the rookie league out in L.A. and then went on into San Antonio from there.
Dusty, the West Texas State University, a lot of heritage. At one time, very successful football program, but a lot of things that are going on, that have gone on in West Texas have surrounded professional wrestling. I think the fans would be astounded to know the amount of guys, name-recognized wrestlers that came out of West Texas State.
Well, at last count, I remember me and you were talking earlier in the week. We were talking, I think it was 14 or 15 that came out of there. Were 3 world's heavyweight champions, Terry Funk, Dory Funk, and the legendary American Dream, Dusty Rhodes himself, was fortunate enough to become world heavyweight champion. And the different eras, there were eras with the Funks and the Bobby Duncans and the Dusty Rhodes. I played ball with Dwayne Thomas and Mercury Morris. And eras went on to the DiBiase's, and they went on to the Stan Hansons, and they went on to the John Ayers and guys like that. West Texas State was the real melting pot of professional wrestlers.
1970s really was a decade, I think, that if we look back on it as wrestling fans, dominated by the American Dream. Voted most popular wrestler 2 times in the 70s, Wrestler of the Year 2 times in the 70s, won his first World Championship in the 70s. If you look back at just a little capsule summary of the 70s, how do you perceive the 70s as it related to your career? Was that the biggest decade that you thought you would ever have?
The 70s, to me, they ran along a friend of mine, and we had talked about him earlier, and I'm going to bring him up now because that it meant most to me during that period. In 1974, on the cover of the Rolling Stone, at 45 years old, was the picture of Willie Nelson. He He had a 10-year span where he was the greatest entertainer, folk hero, legendary Bob Dylan, new era type person during that era. Our lives met during that point in time in the 70s, even 1 year prior to that. And as we moved across the country and riding down that silver line every night, we did a lot of things from the to where he was at Carnegie Hall, I was in Madison Square Garden. We did things that were coincide with each other for that 10-year span. 70s was a part of my career where I was on top of my game. I had no equals, none whatsoever, no big equals in New York City, no equals in Atlanta, no equals anywhere. And I was very proud of that time. And as times went on, it got a lot harder.
In the 80s, the injuries began to take their toll in the latter part of the 80s, the wear and tear on the body, wrestling 350 times a year at some stretches. But you started the 80s in great shape. It was 10 years ago this month in the Omni right here in Atlanta that you defeated Harley Race to win the world's title for the second time.
Well, a friend of mine that's been connected with professional wrestling for many years, as you know, Mr. Jim Barnett. At the time, we were in the Omni on that day, and it was Father's Day, and I won the world's heavyweight title. And he looked at me and he said that the Atlanta Omni, because we used to be an auditorium, as you remember, Jim, for a long time, and the Omni was the house that Rhodes built. It was a special building to me. It was a special time for me. It was the start of the 80s. And I knew that the 80s were going to be just as successful as the 70s, but as time went by, as you say, injuries and sometime I'm not George Foreman. Age does catch up with you.
Oh, it does. You know, the 80s led as we said, the latter part of the 80s, but now we're into the 90s, and the 90s have seen the end of your active career in the ring. You've made it very public on our television broadcast that you're out of that now. It's time to move on to another level in professional wrestling, and I'm sure the fans will be interested to know exactly what you're doing now, working for TBS.
17, 18 years, 17. I've been with Mr. Ted Turner. I was his golden boy through that era. I went through the years of, as we say, just 70s and 80s and 90s came along, and I think with every NFL or AFL or pro basketball team or whatever it is, they have people they call player personnel. Developing new talent for TBS, Mr. Turner. And in doing so, taking a look at some of the things, when I was coming up, there were some guys that took a look at me, took time for me, that helped make Dusty Rhodes the American Dream, and guided my career, and I'm trying to do that right now, working very actively with TBS on this.
It's a great association, too. We'd expect, I'm excited about my opportunity to work for Turner Broadcasting as well. It's a great opportunity if you want to be in the wrestling business and you love wrestling as we do. It's our life, and it's a fun situation. We're going to be taking your calls here in just a moment. As a matter of fact, don't forget, we're going to have our trivia contest tonight. I've got a very special trivia contest question, and it goes all the way back to 1980. And if you're a fan of Dusty Rhodes, be thinking back to 1980, and I'll also be giving you our trivia contest number is going to be 7410750. I think we've got a good question here tonight. We're also going to be talking about, as we said, we're looking forward to this Wednesday night, the Clash of Champions. We've got every line is full right now, but we do encourage you to keep trying at 8720750 outside the Atlanta Dialing Exchange. The number is 1-800-WSB-TALK, and we're going to be taking your calls in just a moment. As we said, Dusty, we're going to be in Knoxville live on TBS Wednesday night. Do you realize that this is the 15th Clash of Champions? This is the 15th one, I think, and I'm being very honest. I really believe that this Wednesday's lineup is going to be the very best of all time.
I think this is the best opportunity for this world, the nation, radio, television, throughout the country. World Championship Wrestling, WCW on the air at TBS on Wednesday night. It's the greatest card that I've seen in all these clashes, and I was on most of them, so I can tell you they were super.
I've had the opportunity to. I just came to work for the company, and not too long after that, with the first Clash of Champions, that was in Greensboro, and the headline match was Sting versus Nature Boy Ric Flair. They wrestled 45 minutes, I believe. If my memory serves me correctly, they had a draw. It was a great match, and they just seem to be getting better and better. And the thing about this is that, we tape a lot of programs for broadcast at a later time. Wednesday night, we're working without a net. It's live.
It's live and in color. Wednesday night, you can. The Clash Champions for Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm going to be there, and I know you are, and it's going to be a tremendous night.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with more of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. You're listening to Wrestling with Jim Ross on AM 750 WSB. Welcome back, everyone. This is AM 750 WSB. This is Wrestling with Jim Ross, and our meteorologist Kirk Melly says tonight, clear and mild, the low of 64 degrees. Tomorrow, partly sunny and warmer, with a high of 87, low of 65.
It's going to be a beautiful week and a great week for you to join us Wednesday night, 8:05 Eastern Time, live on TBS for the Clash of Champions. We're here with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. We're going to go to the phones and start taking calls now. We're going first to Brenda in Columbia, Pennsylvania. Brenda, you're on the air. Are you there? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, Brenda, you're on the air on AM 750 WSB with Jim Ross and Dusty Rhodes.
Hello? How are you tonight?
Fine, thank you. What is your question?
To Dusty. I was wondering, how long has he been in wrestling?
Dusty, how long have you been in wrestling?
Brenda, I've been wrestling 21 years. It's been a long, hard ride, but very, very gracious and a very rewarding time. Thanks for calling, darling.
Marilyn, you're on AM 750 WSB with Jim Ross and Dusty Rhodes. Hello. Marilyn, you're on the air.
Okay. I'd like to ask Dusty, when is Magnum TA, is he going to ever start wrestling again?
Well, darling, Magnum TA, as we know, Terry Allen was in a tremendous car accident. They gave him $1 million to $1 to ever move from the neck down, never even to walk, never to move at all. Right now, he has done a tremendous job of being the Magnum TA that we know. I don't believe he'll ever wrestle again, but I wouldn't want to be the one to tell him that.
Thank you very much for your call. And we're going now to Rand. Are you on the air?
Yeah, I'm on here. Let me talk old Dust.
Dusty's right here. Go ahead.
How you doing there, Big Dust?
I'm doing all right. What's going on with you? You getting fucking like a monkey tonight?
Yes, sir, I am. After I hear you. Listen, I got a little trivia question for you.
Going with it.
Okay, this happened about 18 years ago. It was one of my first wrestling matches I went to see. You was on the card.
All right.
You was wrestling this one guy, and I ain't going to tell you his name. I want you to, but you wrestled this guy, and you was too quick for him, you know, and he reverted to some tactics. And he pulled out a bag of salt, and he went to throw it in your eyes, but you was too quick for him, and you took it away from him, and you threw it in his eyes.
All right, who do you think it is, Dusty?
Tor Tanaka, Professor Tanaka?
No, it was Abdul the Butcher.
Okay.
Where'd he get salt?
Well, he
From Arabia, right? Thanks for calling.
From a salt shaker. All right, we're going to go back to the fort. Jerry, you're on the air. This AM 750 WSB, Jim Ross and Dusty Rhodes on Wrestling with Jim Ross. What's your question or comment?
Yes, I'd like to talk to Dusty maybe about some of the changes that are happening in WCW, some of the new faces that you're bringing along, and do you actually think they're going to be able to fill the bill and draw well for you?
I think that every great football team, and I look at WCW as a football team, I look at it as a team effort. I think you change teams, and times happen where you have a law where things aren't happening, as you know, and there's not these tremendous impact of houses and stars and things going on. The new guys, what you hope for when you look at it as a player personnel, when you look at new talent, you look at one kid that can throw that ball 50 yards for a touchdown. You look at one guy, maybe out of 10, out of 11, that can take that step up and be a Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair or be a Hulk Hogan, that same type of person. And WCW is on the verge of having some of the biggest stars in the history of this business.
Thanks very much for your call. Now we're going to go to our long-distance line. Hi, this is AM 750. This is Jim Ross. Who's this?
This is Mike. How's it going, guys?
Mike, how you doing? You're calling us from Long Island, New York?
Yeah, I enjoy the WPIX show a lot.
Good. Thanks for watching. That's on Saturday mornings for the fans that might be listening. What's your question or comment to Dusty Rhodes, Mike?
Dusty, who do you see going against the Steiner brothers? I don't see that many tag teams right now in WCW. Do you have any new tag teams coming in?
You know, it's a real hard, it's a hard chore because these guys, I think, as you know, Mike, since the Road Warriors, probably, let's talk about the Road Warriors, that the Steiner brothers are more powerful and quicker and smarter and hungrier and meaner than anybody I've ever seen. And I know that there's a group of guys that are standing in line. The Japanese couldn't get it done, baby. So I don't know. I hope to take a hard look with the people at TBS and WCW to see who can fill that shoe.
Mike, thanks for your call. And now let's go back to our phones. And Miracle, you are calling from Mountain View, Missouri. Go ahead. You're on the line with Dusty Rhodes.
Hello, Dusty.
Hey, darling.
I wanted to ask you a question. Please tell Dustin, don't join the York Foundation.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I have told him that if he has to make his own. We're laughing here because he's just really put that back in their face. I think Dustin grew up knowing one thing, and that is that he's a natural, and and nobody's pushing him real hard. He's making his way on his own. He's making his Dustin Rhodes and not Dustin Rhodes Jr., and I don't think he's going to join the York Foundation in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, I got to talk to him on the Fans Jam, so I'm real pleased to get to talk to you.
Thank you, darling.
And, yeah, I've got the whole stump collection. I got the whole thing except for 3 cards of Flying Brian.
I'm sure our sponsors are going to thank you for that. I certainly do. Thank you very much for calling. Let's go back now to a local call. Let's go to Daryl, line 3. You're in Marietta.
Hey, Jim. How you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks for calling AM 750 WSB.
I just wanted to find out. I want to get you and Dusty's predictions for Wednesday night.
Well, on Ric Flair and Bobby Eaton, or were you talking about any one match or what?
Well, just basically all of them, if you can maybe give a quick rundown.
What do you think, Dusty and Ric Flair and Bobby Eaton? That's going to be a good match.
I think Bobby Eaton, it's 2 out of 3 falls. I think Bobby Eaton's got an opportunity here to take another step forward. If we know Bobby Eaton say, I want to be a singles champion, I want to win a title. And I went on record as saying in 1991 he was going to step out and do that. He beat the enforcer, Arn Anderson. Ric Flair now then is not so much at the top of his game as he is smart. I think Bobby Eaton is at the top of his game. I think Bobby Eaton can be Ric Flair.
We'll be going over more predictions throughout the night, so be sure and stay with us, Daryl. And now let's go back to another call. Nella?
Yes, how you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks for calling AM 750 WSB. Do you have a question for Dusty Rhodes?
Yes, I just wanted to know.
You need to turn your radio down.
Oh, okay. I was just wanting to know if Dusty is trying his best to get a match between Arn Anderson and Ric Flair or Barry Windham and Ric Flair.
For himself? For Dusty to be wrestling?
No. For either Ric Flair and Arn Anderson to go against each other.
Oh, to go against each other. Okay, thank you for your call. Dusty, what do you think?
I think she made a great call there. I think that WCW now is looking at the top contenders, whether it was a member of a different group or whether they were tag team together or whether they ran together as the old Four Horsemen used to. I think they need to take a look, and it's very important that they look at talent-wise. The guy that earned that shot, the guy that's earned the shot to be World Heavyweight Champion, he needs to get it whether he's against friend or foe.
Fans, I want to remind you that our trivia contest sponsored by Impel Marketing and the makers of the Stomp Collection, the official trading cards of World Championship Wrestling. And we've got a very special trivia question. This is going to be for the first person that can give us a correct answer at this special number. Now, remember, the special number is 741-0750. That's 741-0750. That is our trivia contest line. Who was the special referee when Dusty Rhodes beat Harley Race in 1980 in the last Tango in Tampa? Very special referee. Was at one time a big wrestling star, and I will tell you that he may have been considered the master of the Iron Claw at one time. The first caller at 741-0750 to give us that answer on our trivia contest, and will receive a box set of the Stomp Collection, the official trading cards of World Championship Wrestling.
Now, back to America's leading wrestling broadcaster. It's Wrestling with Jim Ross. You can talk to Jim Ross and his guests. Call 872-0750 or 1-800-WSB-TALK. Now, back to Jim Ross.
Thank you very much, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to AM 750 WSB. My guest in the studio is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and we're taking your phone calls at 872-0750. If you're anywhere outside the local dialing exchange, that number is toll-free, 1-800-WSB-TALK. And we have a winner on our trivia contest, and Johnny Woolwine from Austell. Johnny, are you on the air?
Yes, sir.
You have the correct answer. The question was, who was a special referee when Dusty Rhodes beat Harley Race in 1980 in the last Tango in Tampa?
It was Fritz Von Erich.
You're exactly right, Johnny. How did you know that, Johnny?
I took a wild guess because when you said Iron Claw, I knew it had to be Fritz.
It had to be Fritz. Well, that was you're right, and we're going to be sending you a box set of the Stomp Collection trading cards, and we appreciate you listening to AM 750 and Wrestling with Jim Ross. Dusty, let's go back to the telephones. A lot of people wanting to get through, and we're going to take as many phone calls as we possibly can. Hello, you're on the air. This is AM 750 WSB.
Hi, I just want to let Dusty know I've been a fan of the NWA since the old City Auditorium days and a fan of his since he got started. I wanted to ask him about who I think is the very best wrestler around now. and that's Barry Windham. Is he going to stay with the NWA, with WCW? And how can you get him to give an autograph?
Well, Barry's always been kind of high-strung, as you know. Barry was with me when he was 18 years old. And I said on television, I believe it's Super Brawl to Mr. Jim Ross, I said he's the greatest pure athlete, professional wrestling in our business around the world. I think Barry Windham is destined to be world heavyweight champion. As far as an autograph, you just have to catch him at the right time, but I appreciate you calling.
Thanks very much for calling AM 750 WSB. Back to the phones. Hi, you're on AM 750 WSB with Jim Ross and Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to Dusty Rhodes. I'd like to tell him that I think he was a great wrestler, and I enjoyed watching him throughout the years, and I'd like to ask him, when does he think Dustin will win his first title match?
Well, if I would listen to Dustin, he would have won it when he was about 12 years old, but he's got a tremendous amount of drive. He reminds me a lot of Barry Windham, and he's 21 years old. I think with the amount of athletes that we have in WCW right now that it's going to take him a while because he has to do everything just a little bit better than everybody else because he's Dusty Rhodes' son. He has to, everything he does, he has a drive to do it twice as good. And sometimes when you're hurrying too much and you're hustling too much, you make mistakes. When you do, that's when you get beat.
You know, Dusty, the thing about this Wednesday night, as far as Dustin's concerned, he's got to go in and beat Terry Taylor for the second time. He beat Taylor at Super Brawl. Taylor's a veteran. He's an outstanding athlete. He's got the advantage and experience. He's got big Mr. Hughes out there on the outside, which has got to be a factor in a guy's preparation. So Dustin's got to go back to the well 2 times this Wednesday night.
Well, I know the York Foundation called this thing again, and Terry Taylor wasn't satisfied with it. And I might add, too, I thought Dustin did had a tremendous effort in that match, but I don't think anything was settled. And like I said, if he hurries too much, he makes a mistake. Terry Taylor beats him on national TV across this country Wednesday night.
Back to the phones. Chris, you're on AM 750 WSB.
Yes, thank you. Hello, Jim.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I've got a question for Dusty.
Okay, go ahead.
Dusty Rhodes, I have been a fan of yours since I was a little boy. And my biggest question for you is, who is your greatest tag team partner, and who, in my opinion, I'll give you my answer in a minute, but who was your worst foe?
The greatest tag team partner that I ever had was Dick Murdoch, and he's still very, very active because he's so mean. And along with him, I thought Terry Allen, Magnum TA, came along at an era to where I was not as quick, not as fast, and he picked up a lot of slack for me. But them two guys, and my biggest foe, without a doubt, without even hesitating, was Terry Funk.
I was thinking Ole Anderson, but
Ole Anderson and me had some of the greatest battles in the history of Atlanta.
That's what I remember.
But Terry Funk was the kind of guy that would come up to your door the next morning. You thought it was all over, and he'd knock, and you'd think it was a newspaper guy, and he'd hit you between the eyes because that happened to me a couple times.
Yeah. Thanks very much for your call. We appreciate you calling Wrestling with Jim Ross on AM 750 WSB. And we're going to go back to the phones, get as many calls in as we can. Byron from Peachtree City, you're on the air on AM 750 WSB with Jim Ross and Dusty Rhodes.
Yes, I'd like to ask Dusty Rhodes a trivia question.
Okay, so right here, go ahead.
On July 4th of 1982, the Atlanta's Omni, on the Bob Backlund and Ric Flair unification match, who was your opponent on the undercard?
In 1984, you know, they
82,
say,
July 4th, 82.
Oh, in 82 in July, you know, they say that a lot of people around the office at TBS say sometime I'm getting a little senile and start repeating myself because I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. Do you know who it is?
Yes, I do.
Who was it?
It was Dr. X, who was unmasked as Magnificent Morocco.
That's tremendous. Yeah, I remember that. I remember a lot of battles with Morocco.
82. Byron, thanks for your call. We appreciate you calling AM 750 WSB. We have a question. Gary, you're on the air. You're on AM 750 WSB. You have a question about Ric Flair?
Yes, I was first going to say I live in an area where we're not too far from Knoxville, and I'm heading down Wednesday. Got third row seat.
Good for you. Glad you're coming.
Looking forward to it. I wanted to ask Dusty, back in July when Sting took the belt from Ric Flair, the talk show they have up in Baltimore late night Saturday, the people that were doing the show seemed to be singing a death march for Ric Flair like it was all over. And I was wondering if you and Dust at the time felt that was the passing of the Ric Flair era.
A while ago when I was talking about Terry Funk, and I failed to mention one thing, we were talking about my foes. I'm talking about guys that were there every day. The greatest contest that I ever had in wrestling was Ric Flair. By no means did I write off Ric Flair. Do I write him off at this point in time? He's riding on a high scale right now. When I said the top of your game, you can be at the top of your game, but you can be very smart. Whether that era has passed Ric Flair by, truthfully, I don't really know, but I know Ric Flair, it's going to take a hell of a man to beat him.
Thanks very much for your call on AM 750 WSB. I'll tell you something. Flair and Bobby Eaton Wednesday night, the Clash of Champions, 2 out of 3 fall match. That was kind of a throwback to when I first got in wrestling back in the early 70s. Most of the championship matches were contested in a 2 out of 3 fall environment. Another match that has a great deal of consequences Wednesday night does is the total package Lex Luger and the great Muta. Muta has really been on a roll, and for some reason, a lot of the fans perceive that Lex Luger can't beat Ric Flair. He's tried it 3 or 4 times at big events, pay-per-views, clashes, and so forth. But the winner of that match will get a chance to wrestle for the world title at the Great American Bash. How do you see all this coming together? Because it is a must-win for Muta and for Luger Wednesday.
Muta just coming off a high roll, and we were both there in Tokyo, 65,000 people on the record in the Egg Dome, and we were just there, and we seen Muta and controversial win over Sting. But the bottom line is, the way I see this thing here is I see the pay-per-view in Baltimore. I see Bobby Eaton defending the title for the first time against the great Muta.
I think it's going to be a tremendous night. Another high-stakes match. We talked earlier about Barry Windham. The last lady called us about Barry not signing her autograph, but Barry Windham and Arn Anderson Wednesday night take on Elegante and Flying Brian. That match is loser of the fall leaves WCW. And this is all, you fans can see this whole situation live in the comfort of your own home, as we so often say, Wednesday night. But how do you see that one? Now, that's a situation where there's got to be a winner. Somebody's going to be gone after Wednesday.
Well, in the past 8 years, Arn Anderson has been the enforcer. They've used Arn Anderson when they were the Horsemen to take on all the grief and all the bad guys. And if there's one weak point in this thing because of Brian Pillman's drive and because of the size of the giant, is not ability, not a lack, but I think Arn Anderson has been sacrificed at times, and I look for Arn Anderson to leave WCW on Wednesday night.
Let's go back to our telephones. Hot Wheel from Ackworth. You're on the air. AM 750 WSB.
The teenage race. Radios are on the air. I got a few quick questions, Jim and Dust. I'll let you get on with some of your calls.
All right.
Okay, why is WCW coming like the WWF with gimmicks like P and News and Oz? What do you think about Sid Vicious becoming Sid Justice in the WWF? Why is Championship Marketing also selling WCW cards? And Dusty, why'd you get into the WWF circus?
I can answer that very easily. First of all, let's start with Sid Vicious. I believe Sid Vicious believed in his mind he had a tremendous amount of talent. People in other areas thought he did too. I think he had a year or so to prove that, and I don't believe that he wanted to go through what it takes in WCW to be that type of athlete. Secondly,
I personally thought he was overrated. That's just my
I
opinion.
do too. And secondly, the WCW circus, as he called it, is we go back to the old NWA. We go back to where wrestling was it. We call it the real deal, whether it's a circus or not. PM News is a tremendous athlete. I would challenge anybody out there, just because he raps and he's got a little hat on his head. I used to wear a little hat. Remember, I used to wear flowery robes, and I used to be a little flamboyant. But I'll challenge anybody one-on-one with PM News to test his ability as a professional wrestler. And I don't call it a circus. I call it WCW marketing, and I call it, if you will watch Wednesday night, you will see what we call the real deal, and that's WCW wrestling.
I think that's very well put, and I think, a lot of people don't realize is that we're one of the most watched cable programs of any cable program in America. We're on America's leading cable network, TBS. You have to have we're in a television business. The television business is an entertainment business, and that is exactly what wrestling is. It's great sports entertainment. You're entertained by it. It's fun to watch. It's exciting, and you just can't have a steady stream of guys coming out there in little short black boots and gray wool tights. There's color involved in this situation.
Well, no doubt. I'm going to go back and just lay this on you one time. Gorgeous George came on. He had the blonde hair and everything, and he was the first there. And then Joe Namath came and he had white shoes, and they said, "Oh man, that's a gimmick right there." Then Ali came and he talked like Dusty Rhodes, went crazy. He was the greatest fighter of all time. Each one of them them guys had the ability to be the best at what they were. They were the best at what they was. No matter what you wear, how you look, what you do out there, WCW is the real deal. And on Wednesday night, you're going to see that. Get through the music if you don't like the music. Get through the rap if you don't like the rap. But when the wrestling comes on, 2 out of 3 falls, Flair and Eaton, you're going to see the best.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let's go back to our telephones. Hi, you're on AM 750 WSB. What's your question or comment to Dusty Rhodes?
Yes, I was wondering, when is Robert Gibson coming back?
I know that in the offices the other day, they were anxiously anticipating the return of Robert Gibson, who was tremendous competitor as a tag team competitor, and I look for him to be back pretty shortly.
Dennis Brandt, the editor of the Wrestling Wrap-Up, here with us in the studio as well. I know they get a lot of the mail that comes to wrestlers, and Robert has really been getting a lot of fan mail from the fans. Wish him a speedy recovery. He's got a long way to go, I can tell you that, but we do look forward to him coming back. We hope to see him very soon back in World Championship Wrestling. We have, the phones are going crazy. We really appreciate everybody calling tonight. The phones are completely full. They've been full for long before we came on. The local number, if you want to keep trying, is 872-0750. Our long-distance number is 1-800-WSB-TALK. We're going to go back to the phones, as we said. John from Roswell, you're on AM 750 WSB with Dusty Rhodes.
Hey, Dusty, what's up?
How you doing, brother?
Okay, I got a question for you. Did you ever have a manager? And another question for you. Whatever happened to the juicer?
The juicer I'm not familiar with. I know that he was around WCW for
I answered that last week. He went back to Portland, and he's doing he's wrestling in that Portland area, so he's there. So he's not here any longer, but he's wrestling up there, I understand. And what was the other question?
What was your other question?
Have a manager?
No, Dusty Rhodes. I had some tag team partners, but I always took care of my business myself.
All right, we're going to go back some more calls here in just a little bit. And welcome back, everyone, to AM 750 WSB. This is Jim Ross. You're listening to Wrestling with Jim Ross. My guest in the studio, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Next week here in the studio, I will have as my guest the Stinger from Venice Beach, California, one of the most charismatic athletes ever in World Championship Wrestling. He has his hands full this Wednesday night, the Clash of Champions. He'll be taking on Nikita Koloff there, and no matter the outcome of that match, they have signed for a lights-out Texas death match, Sting and Nikita Koloff in the Omni on Sunday, June 23rd. And Sting will be my guest right here next week at 9 o'clock Eastern Time on AM 750 and Wrestling with Jim Ross. Hope you'll tune in then. Dusty, we still have tons of calls, and like I said, we really appreciate the fans for calling. I do want to remind everyone that our meteorologist Kirk Melly says tonight it's going to be clear and mild with a low of 64. Tomorrow, partly sunny and warmer with a high of 87 and a low of 65 degrees. We want to go back to the phones and get as many calls in as we can. Richard, you're on a car phone, and you're on AM 750 WSB.
Well, first of all, Jim, I want to tell you that I think this is one of the better things that's happened at WSB in a while. I think it'll be a great show.
Well, thank you, Richard. We appreciate you listening and appreciate those comments very much.
All right, and now to the Tower of Power. Big Dust, I've been watching wrestling for about 16 years, and I've really noticed that there's always been a lot of big wrestlers, but lately the wrestlers have been getting bigger and bigger. And does the CW check or really have any restraints on maybe steroid use or anything like that?
I think steroids is a drug. I don't think it should be used, and I think that the obvious answer to that, you've been watching for 16 years, you say there's big guys and everything. I am living proof that you don't have to use steroids to be great.
Thank you very much, Richard, for your telephone call.
All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. We greatly appreciate all that you do to support our show. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button for us. We would greatly appreciate it. It means a lot, and it would mean a hell of a lot if you go check us out and subscribe on YouTube. It's Grilling JR on YouTube.com. Of course, you know JR wants you to pick up some sauce, baby, over at jrsbbq.com. And if you want to pick up some swag, easy for me to say, that's grillingjrtees.com, grillingjrtees.com. And of course, you can interact with the show. Follow us here on Twitter and Instagram at JR Grilling. And of course, we're Grilling JR on Facebook. Thanks so much for all you do for us. If you dug what we did today with a peek behind the curtain here on adfreeshows.com, showing off some of the old retro audios that we have from JR's radio show back in the day, I think you'll also like some of the other nostalgia programming we have over at adfreeshows.com, like the book. You've just absolutely got to hear the March and April episodes. You don't want to miss it. It's me sitting down with wrestling royalty David Crockett, to go through his brother's red books, the daily journal, the ins and outs of the business, the towns, the dates, the matches, the gates, the attendance. We lift the velvet rope, if you will, for the business of the wrestling business. From the genius booking mind of Dusty Rhodes, from the excellent penmanship of J.J. Dillon, you see it all. And these are Jim Crockett Jr.'s personal red books that now his brother David has, and we chop it up and discuss it in long form only at adfreeshows.com, where you can get more of JR's radio show. And if you just need more JR, check us out next week right here, each and every week. Or get your fix right now on YouTube. Grilling JR on YouTube.com. We'll see you next week right here on Grilling JR with the voice of wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross.
Hey guys, it's the hardcore legend Mick Foley here, and I need to call a quick timeout, a brief timeout, because I wanted to tell your listeners what I have been telling Foley is Pod listeners for a while now about all the cool things happening over on adfreeshows.com.
The wait is over, as an all-new Conversations with Conrad is finally here. He created the soundtrack to so many of our childhood memories, with iconic themes like The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Ultimate Warrior, and many more. The legendary Jim Johnston sits down with Conrad for a 2-hour career retrospective, available now only on adfreeshows.com.
Literally started, I was watching some tape of the guy, and I just started doing this to the kind of what I felt like was the tempo of him running. And then I recorded that. And then just over that, you're just doing. You know, it's so simple, but that's what felt like him.
That's just a small taste, a sampling, if you will, of what we have waiting for you. With 4 levels to choose from. 4. See for yourself why ad-free shows is the best value in wrestling today. Sign up now, right now, at adfreeshows.com. Yeah.